investigating a shooting overnight. It was near 615 South, 300 West. We know that one person is dead. They believe it was an isolated incident between individuals who knew each other. We have a reporter on the scene gathering details. The family of a woman killed in what could be a murder-suicide say she had filed divorce papers the day before. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis reports.
The family of Linda Paola Zerpa Laura says she filed for divorce on Thursday, and it was the next day she was found dead in her home. Laura's family tells KSL she and her ex had lived separately, but she planned to meet with him Friday afternoon, and the family worried after not hearing from her for several hours. They say she was a mother, entrepreneur, and an active member of the Venezuelan community.
Harriman police say a woman was killed by blunt force trauma and a man found inside had killed himself, but have not yet identified them because not all family has been notified. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, help is available. The Utah Domestic Violence Coalition's confidential hotline is available 24/7 at 1-800-897-LINK. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The White House says Vice President J.D. Vance is ready to lead a U.S. delegation, but Iran making it clear they're not quite ready to talk.
A White House official said this weekend that the vice president will lead the U.S. delegation to Pakistan, but this morning there is no word on the timing of that trip and no official response from the White House to Iran's latest statements that no talks are planned, but time is certainly running out.
ABC News senior political correspondent Rachel Scott reporting. Your money at this moment, the Dow down 127 points to 49,320. Coming up, we've got a few slow spots to deal with still on the commute that have stuck around from morning drive. We'll check traffic and weather together next. KSL News Time, 9:01.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment? That's a lie. Most timeshares can be bought online for $1. To find out what your timeshare is worth and to cancel it, call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit kit free with all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free exit info guide. 800-990-1551. That's 800-990-1551.
My name is Christine, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, was a healthy 34-year-old, and 3 months later, he was gone. Thankfully, he had life insurance. Ethos made it so easy. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. 100% online, no medical exam. Life insurance didn't take away the loss, but it did give us the space to just grieve.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/game. Ethos.com/game. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
It's the time of year when so many wonderful things are happening. First of all, we've got Mother's Day just around the corner. We also have a lot of engagement activities, even some early spring weddings. And of course, we have graduations and so much more. It's time to make your reservations at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Either location, right in the heart of downtown Salt Lake City. If you're going to be up in the mountains, they're right there, Hotel Park City, with the very best meal you have ever had. It awaits you at either locations. Now, of course, I love to talk about the steaks. The ribeye is my absolute favorite. Each and every steak is cooked to perfection. But of course, there are other wonderful entrees as well, whether it be seafood or poultry or a specialty dish. It is time. Make your reservations for those special occasions that are just around the corner at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, heart of downtown Salt Lake City or Hotel Park City.
I'm Congressman Mike Kennedy. For years, Utah families have paid too much for health care, groceries, and everyday essentials. I'm fighting for health care reform that puts patients first and lowers costs. I'm also working to cut waste, fraud, and abuse in Washington because your tax dollars should be spent wisely. Fiscal responsibility means lower costs and a government that works for you. I'm Mike Kennedy, and I'll keep fighting for Utah families. Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
Salt Lake City, this is your final boarding call, extended by popular demand. Titanic, the exhibition, is sailing away soon. Don't miss your last chance to experience the heartbreaking and heroic stories of her passengers and crew. See the incredible artifacts before the doors close forever on April 19th at the Shops at Southtown and Sandy. Get your tickets before they're gone at thetitanicexhibition.com. That's the TitanicExhibition.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Earn 4.24% on savings at UCCU.com. Let's check in with Cormac Bone.
Southbound I-15 still slow from about the north interchange down to 600 north is especially slow approaching the north interchange. And northbound I-15 still seeing some scattered slowdowns from 90th south all the way up to 13th south. We also have heavier delays eastbound I-215 southbound from State Street over to 900 South. They're residual after a crash that was just before Highland Drive eastbound I-215 southbound. They are still blocking that right shoulder. Performance Automotive in Bountiful, endless possibilities with 3 locations: Performance Ford Lincoln, Performance Honda, and Performance Toyota, where excellence is standard. Start your search at performancebountiful.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather forecast hot today with a high reaching into the 80s. Clouds will come later, but expect similar weather tomorrow with a high of 81. Right now, though, 61 degrees and partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, the Republicans took the stage this weekend with their county conventions throughout the state, at least a lot of them that we want to talk about. You went to the Utah County Convention, didn't you?
I did.
And there was some interest there. There's some significant interest in Davis County. But let's start in Salt Lake County. This is a bit of a shocker to me personally. Salt Lake County Council member Laurie Stringham lost her seat following a defeat at the convention, and which means she will not be on the ballot.
That's right. She will not be on the ballot. There is no primary, and Kathleen Anderson will be on the general election ballot. So Lori has been on the county council, I think, for 6 years, and to get signatures to have been in a primary would have required 7,200 signatures, which is more than it takes to get on a congressional ballot as a congressional candidate. That's 7,000.
That's because I guess Salt Lake County is probably bigger than any of the four
well, maybe that is actually, that might be true, but it has to do with the percentages of registered people in the party, right. And there's some weirdness there that requires it for countywide, puts the bar higher than it does for Congress. But if you're a Democrat, it's over 18,000 signatures. It's crazy high
because of Salt Lake County. So I hadn't considered Laurie Stringham to be controversial at all, as she seemed to be doing a good job and seemed to be well received by the other council members. So of course, a lot of people are running opposed this year. It seems like all of our congressional representatives are. And so maybe it shouldn't be a surprise. And I don't know too much about the woman that beat her, but to me, that's a little bit of a shocker.
Kathleen Anderson has been around for quite a while, so she's pretty well known in Republican circles. So anyway, so that was an interesting thing to me that happened there. And then I think Jordan Tusher, Representative Tusher, he actually did well at convention. He got 62.5% of the vote, but he is still in a primary with Scott Stevenson because Stevenson got signatures and is on the ballot that way.
62% should get you over the curb, but not if somebody got signatures.
Right. So let's talk about Davis County, and that is where Representative Trevor Lee is. He has been a favorite of the delegates up there. That's how he won his first election, by defeating Steve Handy. He was the convention choice, and Steve hadn't gathered signatures, and so that was Trevor's first entry into the legislature. And he survived to go to a primary, but he came in second with the delegates on Saturday.
And Trevor Lee's had his own share of interest and controversy. He's certainly been an outspoken member so far while he served, but recently he's had a couple of allegations brought against him, one involving fraud from a former employer, indicating that he had forged or altered some checks that were made payable to himself years ago, 13 years ago, so not anything that could be prosecuted criminally, but certainly ethically a problem. And then more recently, an allegation that he was almost soliciting, bribe him, almost sounds like, that in response to something he could get
right. So
favor.
He's admitted to the first allegation, or well, I guess it's not an allegation if he admits to it, and has denied the second. But in any case, what surprised me was that he didn't do better with the delegates. right? It didn't surprise me that he's in a primary because Bob Stevenson did get signatures. I knew he was going to be in a primary anyway, but Bob came out on top with with the convention crowd. So that bodes pretty well for the challenger. Although I'll say Trevor has been in primaries before and has been successful, but Bob Stevenson is a known name up there.
Yeah, he was the mayor of one of the cities up there. I don't recall.
I think Layton.
Yeah, Layton,
but he's a county commissioner right now.
Current Davis County Commissioner, former mayor of Layton. So well-known politician, well-known Republican up there. Trevor Lee's got some issues that could be a problem in the primary coming up.
Yeah, and so that was interesting to me that that Bob did so well with the delegates up there, and then down in Utah County. So we had. Actually a relatively tame county convention. So it went till about 5 p.m. Started really like delegates could get there at 7:30 in the morning-ish. I got there about 8:30 and the convention actually started at 10. But a couple of races of interest. So there's a state Senate race that's with Brady Brammer and Kelly Smith. Kelly Smith is a city councilwoman right now. Brady is the incumbent. He got over the 60% threshold at convention. He got 69% of the vote. And they're still in a primary, though, because Kelly got signatures. And then former Mayor Michelle Kafusi of Provo, she's also in a primary. She's running for county commission right now.
Oh, interesting. Hey, I don't know if you have Salt Lake County still pulled up.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering who is the nominee for Salt Lake County District Attorney? Probably someone unopposed.
So I don't see that as a race on here. I see the sheriff.
Okay, maybe there wasn't a race because there was a Republican that ran unopposed. I had heard his name, and I can't remember it right now. But the district attorney's race is going to be interesting this year on a couple levels. One, that the incumbent Sim Gill, who's been around since 2010, is facing an opponent who actually beat him at the convention, but not by enough. So there's going to be a primary there, and then the Republicans have a new candidate.
Yeah, I'm just seeing election results. So people who had an election. Down in Utah County, there were 14 races that were completely unopposed, which that's a lot. It feels like that's a lot to me.
So you and I are both attending the state conventions this weekend. I'll share mine, but tell me what race or two you think will be most interesting for you personally.
On the Republican side?
Yeah.
Well, so there's multiple that anybody who crosses a county, they'll be at the state convention. So, for example, even though it's not a congressional race, the state Senate race between Doug Fiafia and Dan McKay, I think that one's interesting. And that's with state delegates, so that will be this coming Saturday. I think their congressional races are interesting with Phil Lyman and Celeste Malloy, of course, will be an interesting race. Blake Moore and Carrie Ann Lisenby, that'll be an interesting race.
Have they both gathered signatures, Blake and Carrie Ann? Do you know?
Carrie Ann is absolutely not, and I think Blake did gather signatures.
Probably did, yeah.
Yeah. And I think Celeste also gathered signatures, and Phil said he was going to, but I don't think he reached the threshold.
Yeah. So obviously for the Democrats, Congressional District 1 is going to be very interesting, although the two frontrunners, Bluin and Ben McAdams, have both gathered signatures, so it's not going to be particularly consequential. But I'm very interested to see how Nate Bluin is received when he gets up and speaks to the body, because he's been under the gun for some comments he made when he was young, but when he was in his 20s, but they were obviously very inflammatory. And the Democratic Party as a whole and a number of the Democratic representatives have taken a pretty strong position against him, and some, including I think the mayor of Salt Lake County, if I recall, Jenny Wilson, has suggested that he withdraw from the race altogether. So
yeah, I have to ask you this. So Republicans are notorious for booing their own kind. I only heard one set of boos on Saturday, which I thought was a good thing. But do you guys ever boo at your conventions?
I don't recall. I'm certainly there. I would, if I said no, I'd be wrong. But I think that there are going to be some boos in that race.
Well, we shall see. So today, this is a pivot. It's still political, right? But this goes to tariffs. Today is the first day that businesses who feel like they need a refund because tariffs were ruled unconstitutional, well, it's the first day they can apply to get money back that they paid in tariffs. So I'm going to try and see if we can figure out what businesses need to know as we talk with Michael Kofed when we come back after this break.
If your water heater's over 10 to 15 years old, congratulations. You've beat the average.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I love hearing stories of people having water heaters that are really old and they're still doing their job. Unfortunately, most of us won't be that lucky. And when water heaters fail, it's usually in spectacularly inconvenient fashion. Whether it's an unexpected cold shower when we're already running late for work, or worse yet, coming home to a flooded basement, it's never fun. If you'd like to look into replacing your water heater before it fails, Any Hour Services is having a sale for any homeowners listening. Whether you're looking for a new tanked water heater or you want to see what upgrading to a tankless would cost, the plumbers at Any Hour Services can show you what options are available. And right now, you can save $400 on a tanked water heater or $1,200 on a tankless. If you think you might be interested, call Any Hour Services today and schedule your free estimate. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
You can't always predict what's next, but you can be ready for it in a BMW SUV. The X1 delivers on confident agility and a striking presence that stands out in a crowd. Or you can own the road in the versatile X3 with advanced driving technology like BMW Connected Drive and sporty design cues. The X5 blends performance and elegance with functionality and a commanding presence. And when only the biggest will do, the X7 steps things up with precision-crafted finishes and 3 rows of luxurious seating so there's always space, even for the biggest plans. Every model is engineered with BMW's intelligent all-wheel drive to give you the confidence in any driving condition. So while you can't always predict what's coming, for every road there's an X built to drive it. BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Discover your dream vehicle at BMW of Murray or BMW of Pleasant Grove. BMW Utah. Drive elevated.
Tim Hughes back at Replenish Landscape Garden Products. That means it must be spring, and spring has sprung a little early this year. I'm here with Greg. You guys, I don't think, have stopped all winter long, have you?
We haven't. We've had business throughout January, February, and March has taken off like a rocket.
With the lack of precipitation down here in the valleys this winter, the need for nutrients, and I'm going to guess moisture retention is going to be more important than ever, Greg. That's where your soil blends come in.
We have 3 great soil blends for growing specifically. We have the topsoil compost blend, we have a Ute-like garden mix, and we have also the box garden mix, which is formulated specifically for container boxes.
If you're in need this spring and upcoming summer, make sure you stop in to Replenish Landscape Garden Products. You can buy it in bulk, you can buy it in bag, or have it delivered from 4660 South 200 West in Murray. Find them online at replenishcompost.com or give them a call at 801-262-5142. Replenish. It's good stuff.
If you don't care about saving 50% off your wireless bill for the same 5G coverage the big guys are charging a fortune for, maybe you care about keeping jobs in America. Pure Talk does. They've pledged to run their entire operation from this country, including all their customer service. Or maybe you care about our nation's veterans. Pure Talk does. They've donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to America's Warrior Partnership, a fantastic organization working hard to prevent veteran suicide. Or maybe you care about closing America's skills gap. Pure Talk does. They're a proud supporter of MicroWorks. They're helping my foundation train the next generation of skilled workers. Don't get me wrong. Saving money's great, and you'll save plenty with Pure Talk. But if you want to be in business with people who share your values, dial pound 250, say micro, and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
911, coming back. What happened? My son and his wife and their 2 children haven't responded.
Susan Powell disappeared on a snowy morning in 2009.
I said, Josh, where are you? You need to get home.
And her husband will never be held accountable.
Your wife is missing, Josh.
Yeah, but
But you want to think about it for a couple of days?
I'd had this overwhelming feeling that he had done something to her already.
I'm Dave Cawley, host of the podcast Cold.
Then he starts making phone calls to Susan's phone.
Hello, Susan. We are on our way back.
It's the deepest of deep dives into this tragic tale of abuse.
Where was Josh when Susan disappeared?
I don't know. Of one mother's desperate attempt to escape.
This is me, covering all my bases.
Help prevent it from happening again.
Our focus has and continues to be finding Susan.
Listen and learn by following Cold wherever you get your podcasts.
Inside Sources.
Well, after a recent United States Supreme Court opinion holding that Trump's tariff plan was not authorized, the process has started for the refund of some of the tariffs that were imposed during the time they were in place. Here's more from ABC's Olivia Rubin.
The Trump administration launches a tariff refund site today aimed at reimbursing American companies for the $160 billion, yes, billion dollars they paid in tariffs that the Supreme Court struck down in February. Businesses can request refunds through the online portal, but experts say it's unlikely American consumers will recover any money, but companies like FedEx have promised to refund customers.
Yeah, the riddle to me has always been, Holly, who gets the benefit? Because ultimately, consumers paid the additional price, presumably. Although
at least some tried.
Right.
Some companies tried to absorb the tariff hit at the beginning and then had to end up passing it on to consumers. But, I hope he's on the line. Okay, so we have Mike Kofed with us. He's the assistant professor of economics at the University of Tennessee at Knoxville. And thanks for joining us again, Dr. Kofed.
Yes, thanks for having me on.
I wonder if we could just start by, if you're a business today, what do you need to know about how to get started on this process?
Yeah, so what you need to have if you're a business today is you need to be the primary importer of that good. And so when I import maybe a raw material or a final good that I'm going to put on my shelf as a retailer, when it comes to a port, so a place like the Port of Los Angeles or the Port of Newark, New Jersey, I actually pay a tariff to CPV, and they're going to get Customs and Border Patrol, and they're going to give me a receipt for that tariff paid. So that's going to be kind of that first round, is people who actually paid the tariff directly to the government, showing them their receipt and saying, Supreme Court says you need to pay me back now.
And we're hearing that the Trump administration has set aside, or at least they're believing that these tariffs are going to total something like $160 billion. Does that seem like what happened during that period of time, that would be the amount of the tariffs?
Yeah, that seems to be probably what we would call the direct revenue from the tariff. Now, that's not going to capture all the side effects, which will be, for example, the amount that's passed on to consumers or the reduced quality and quantity of product that goes to the consumers. But that might be just a first pass accounting total of the cost of the tariffs.
So what can consumers expect?
So I don't think consumers are going to be able to expect a whole lot right now, because the way that it will work is the consumer doesn't have a receipt that says, hey, I paid this tariff. It's what sometimes economists call an implicit tax, because the tax was passed on to the final good and service. And so when I purchase my thing from Walmart or Costco, it says goods and services, and then here's my state sales tax that's attributed on it, and then my total. I'm not going to have a tariff line item that I can take to the government right now, but rather what will probably happen is retailers will ask for this money back given how much they paid at the port of entry, and then there'll be a class action lawsuit where customers will say, we actually paid that, not you guys. It was passed on to us.
After the tariffs were struck down by the Supreme Court, and this might be an unfair question to you because you're not a lawyer, I don't think, the Trump administration then reimposed some level of tariffs. Do you know whether or not there was some distinction in the way that they happened the second time that might avoid the lawsuit, or do you think we're back to we're going to challenge those as well?
Yeah, they used a special type of law here that said that you could use as an emergency, to not get super technical, but what's called the balance of payments goes negative. We have balance of payments as the numbers of goods and services going across countries' borders, plus the finances that are like stocks, bonds, and cash that's flowing. When we have a trade deficit, so we're pulling in more goods and services into our country, that is also accompanied by a financial surplus, more financial instruments are coming to the country to balance that out. We would only have that go negative in times of a currency collapse or a financial crisis. Neither of those things are happening right now. And there's also a time limit where Congress has to actively reauthorize that after 60 days. I think there's probably grounds that you could sue and say there's no balance of payment deficit going on here. There's no financial crisis. I think by the time your lawsuit gets through, Congress will probably not renew those after 60 days.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, Mike, how long, if businesses, they're able to get onto this portal today, and I imagine there might be an online traffic jam, but how long would it take for them to get those refunds?
They're hoping weeks. I'm thinking months, and then you're going to have probably a lawsuit from consumer advocacy groups that might put a halt to all of it. Oh. This is why tariffs are not good policy, because now that I have to reimburse these, I'm going to have to set up websites, muddle through lawsuits, and hire employees to allocate these this money's back, and it's going to end up costing the government more than they brought in on the tariff margin.
Refund or not, the economy has certainly struggled, not just because of the tariffs, but because of what's happening with the war in Iran. But can you break it down and give us your opinion of what tariffs actually ended up doing overall for the economy during the last year?
Yeah, no, a lot of retail goods saw big spikes in prices during the Biden administration. And so then when tariffs were implemented, places like Walmart, food grocery stores, Costco, they were reluctant to pass on those price increases because they didn't think consumers would put up with it. So what they ended up doing is laying off and refusing to hire more workers. They essentially cut back on their production. So at first, the tariff was really borne by workers that didn't see wage increases and lost their jobs. But as time went more and more on, we're now seeing a larger increase in the tariff goods, and these prices are getting passed on to consumers. It might not necessarily be a monetary price, but you'll also see cuts in the varieties of goods that you can get and the availability of certain goods that people want.
So can I ask you a question about these refund amounts specifically for businesses? How much of a refund are they eligible for or can they expect? Do you think they're going to get 100% back? Is it some portion?
I think they're going to get the 100% of the portion that was beyond what the baseline tariff was before Liberation Day. And that's probably going to end up being at the jurisdiction of the administration. And I would assume some firm's going to claim that wasn't enough and it's going to cause another lawsuit. The Supreme Court never said they needed to refund in their decision. So I think the administration is trying to get up in front of it to maybe placate some firms to avoid an even bigger lawsuit from a judge.
Yeah, and I think that was really one of the things that came out of the Supreme Court's opinion, Mike, was that people were, including one of the justices himself, said, okay, now what? I mean, we've held that these are wrong. What are we going to do? And I myself was thinking, okay, the consumers are all going to get something back, but you've pointed us in the right direction. It's just who gets the money and how that's going to work out. The devil's sometimes in the details.
Yeah, this is, when I get to teach freshman econ, it's kind of fun because you think about the tax as a pizza pie, and we got to split the pizza pie three directions here because you also had international suppliers that might have lowered their prices a little bit to give their American counterparts a break. So are they eligible now for this as well? The only one with an actual accounting line item will be the domestic retailer that actually paid the tariff when it was imported. But however, that actual tariff, the burden of that tariff was split amongst American consumers, American companies, and foreign suppliers. And it's going to be a really messy tug of war of who actually gets to keep those monies.
Yeah, interesting. Well, thanks for joining us. That was Mike Kofod, Assistant Professor of Economics at the University of Tennessee at Knoxville, who's been a regular contributor to our program. And it is interesting, Holly. I predicted wrong. I mean, when that opinion came out, I thought, well, this is great news for consumers. They're all going to get their money back. But how you'd calculate that would be virtually impossible, dividing $160 billion among millions of. I mean, everybody takes their receipt in for their.
Right. So even like I'm looking at an NBC article, it says as of April 14th, so a week ago-ish, 56,497 importers had completed registration anticipating that this portal was going to open. And this article additionally says there are people who have hundreds of lines of itemized receipts, right? And they have to be precise and careful in what they're doing.
Some people were smart and thought, these tariffs may not hold water. I'm going to keep receipts. $160 billion is going to be paid back to people who suffered as a result of what are now determined to be illegal tariffs. When we come back, this is just a terrible story out of Louisiana this weekend. The deadliest mass shooting in more than 2 years in the United States, and one that involves a man killing, believe it or not, Holly, 8 children.
Horrible.
We're going to talk about that when we come back.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour: police in Summit County still searching for a man they say escaped a home while they were making their way inside. It happened at a home on Bobsled Boulevard near Park City. Summit County Sheriff's Office Sergeant Skylar Talbot says the call came in as a domestic disturbance.
Anytime there's a domestic disturbance reported, there's certainly a heightened police response. Domestic disturbances can be very unpredictable. We don't know what is going on in the house.
Talbot says when they got to the home, a man was barricading himself inside, but when they went inside, he was gone. Talbot says while they don't know where he is, they don't believe there is a threat to the general public. State Representative Trevor Lee was defeated by his challenger at the Davis County GOP convention over the weekend. Longtime Davis County Commissioner Bob Stevenson beat him with 55% of the delegates' votes. However, because Lee got the other 45%, that's enough for him to also qualify for this year's Republican primary ballot. This comes just days after Lee was accused of check fraud and abusing his power as a state lawmaker. In a statement to KSL, Lee admitted to the altered checks but denied the other allegations. We are also less than a week out from the convention for the Utah Democrats, and it is not without some controversy. State Senator Nate Bluin running for the newly redrawn 1st Congressional District. But just last week, he apologized for some comments he made years ago. Several Democrats have called on him to drop out of the race, but he says he plans to stay in it. Your money at this moment: the Dow down 47 points. It's recovered slightly from the initial dip, 49,398. Coming up, hot today, hot tomorrow, and then temperatures kind of pull back just a bit. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 9:31.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
I had to go get some notes a minute ago because I forgot what I was doing, and I ran a 100-yard dash to get them, and I realized, Holly, I hadn't run 100 yards in a long time, and I can't say that it wasn't possible except for what I've learned from soda. On my week and a half on this diet, I've lost over 10 pounds. I'm about to have my second checkup, and I'm looking forward to see what that will be. They will weigh you every 2 weeks, see how you're doing. No pills, no injections, just food, and I have a nutritionist who stays on me. What are you eating? What are you doing? Tell us, fill out this form, and it's really been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it. My wife has gotten on board. Our meals planned together. And even when I go to a restaurant, I can look at the menu and say, okay, this fits with that diet. It's really worked out well for me. It'll work out well for you. Go to sodadietandnutrition.com, and remember, join us for a short time to have results that last a lifetime. I'm on board forever.
It's spring. You get outside and it's obvious your house needs painting. Make an appointment with CertaPro Painters. They'll give you a free estimate quickly and at the right price. And they make the entire process easy with reliable updates and communication. They know how important your home is to you. True professionals, they're committed to quality and exceptional service at the right price. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated, so schedule your free estimate online at CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C.
The energy, the roar, moments you'll always remember. Next season, Jaren Jackson Jr. is hunting blocks. Lauri Markkanen is getting buckets. And Ace is just getting started. Don't just watch Jazz basketball. Experience every moment. 2026-27 season tickets are on sale now. Full and half-season packages available. Plus exclusive benefits like arena discounts and player events. Are you in? Join the climb today. UtahJazz.com or call 801-355-DUNK.
Hi, I'm Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox. When the IRS invades your life, it's never good news. Keep in mind, it's not just you.
I owed roughly $34,000.
$61,000. When the IRS first contacted me, I was horrified.
When they start hounding you and harassing you and assaulting you.
Don't face the IRS alone. With everything in your life at stake, don't trust just anyone.
From what I got told was being done in a matter of 2 years, he had done in a matter of like 48 hours.
It's a great thing to have the IRS off your back.
We have reduced our tax liability by over $42,000.
Once I signed on with Jordan, I never talked to the IRS again.
It changed our lives.
You need someone to fight for you. Visit endtaxworry.com and get relief today. Let's solve your tax problems now. Visit endtaxworry.com. That's endtaxworry.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Build smart, save big with construction loans at UCCU. Let's go back to the traffic center in Cormac Bone.
We have heavy delays eastbound I-84 in Weber Canyon due to the big boy engine going through there. We've got people parking on the edge of I-84 and causing that backup that's reaching back toward the mouth of Weber Canyon. We also have some northbound I-15 delays in Clearfield around SR 193. And in Salt Lake County, we do have a crash on northbound I-15 blocking the right shoulder just before the I-8201 interchange. No delays behind them. And we also have a crash on southbound I-15 in Lehigh just before 2100 North. Also no delays there. I'm Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
Yeah, not legal to park on on-ramps, folks. Not legal at all. KSL weather forecast today, hot with highs reaching in the 80s. Clouds will come later. We'll have basically the same day tomorrow, except high will be of 81. Right now, it's 63 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
This is hard to even talk about, Holly, but over the weekend, yesterday morning, in fact, a man in Louisiana shot and killed 8 children, actually shot 2 others in a violent attack, left a lot of people in that community really upset. The crime scene is spread over 4 different locations. It began Sunday morning with gunshots. Here's ABC's Perry Russum with the story.
Police in Shreveport calling it a domestic disturbance. 7 children found dead inside one house.
There was an additional deceased child that looked like he had tried to escape.
The gunman leading police on a chase. Officers killing the suspect, who they say was related to some of the children who were killed. The children are between the ages of 1 and 14 years old.
1 year old.
It's just awful, right? And he was the dad to most of those kids. I think 7 of the 8. It's just really horrific.
Yeah, ABC's Jim Ryan says the murders highlight a growing national problem that I want to talk about, and he also has a little bit more to know about this particular suspect.
Investigators say Shamar Elkins shot 8 children, 7 of them his own, execution style, before leading police on a chase that ended in his own death, an act of family violence taken to the extreme. Louisiana State Senator Sam Jenkins says that in the next legislative session,
I just really hope that we began to look at domestic violence as a part of that package.
The New York Times reports that Elkins had told family members earlier this month that he was having dark thoughts and wanted to take his own life. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
I don't even know what to say. Although I do have to say he did shoot his wife and another woman. The 2 women are not dead at this point, but it just I can't even wrap my head around what would make somebody want to kill all of their kids and their spouse.
Yeah, 7 kids, ages from 1 to 12. I think now they've set up to age 14. One was running away, thought that he or she had gotten away and get shot. And they say execution style, which means, I guess, I don't even know how to describe that, but probably close up.
Yeah.
Something that was just horrific. Was this, I think we'll learn more about it as time progresses, but was this in relation to, or response, I guess, to his wife saying, I'm leaving you, I'm filing for divorce, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, that kind of situation that sets people off. But setting someone off to this extent is just, I don't know, I'm reading that this is one of the biggest mass murders in the United States, the biggest mass murder in the United States in the last several years.
In a couple of years, yeah. So he did not have an extensive criminal history. Court records show, I'm looking at an Associated Press because, of course, there's a lot of people following this story, but court records show he was placed on probation in 2019 after he pled guilty to illegal use of weapons. He has, I think I saw on social media that it was a divorce situation. Like she had said, I want a divorce, and that was the trigger. I guess the inciting incident.
Yeah, and that happens far too often. And we'll talk about sort of related cases here in Utah as the show progresses today. But the community, the larger community, whether they're your own children or not, is really upset. People are just, you look at some of the pictures of people who were there and saw this, and to think of killing a 1-year-old, especially perhaps your own 1-year-old, is an act that unfortunately is done to hurt the spouse. What better way or more aggressive way can you show your spouse your contempt for them than to take the most important thing away from her, which is her children? And I think that's what happens, unfortunately, in these kind of situations where one party says, okay, if I'm not going to be in your life, no one else is going to either. And then it ends, of course, with his own death. But the cowardice act, he kills people, then runs away, and then the police have to hunt him down and shoot him. It was just
so yesterday morning when they were holding their first press conference, it's the AP says even the officials appeared stunned. The Shreveport Police Chief Wayne Smith said, "I just don't know what to say. My heart is just taken aback. I cannot even begin to imagine how such an event could occur. This is probably the worst tragic situation we've ever had," said the mayor of this northwestern Louisiana city. It only has about 180,000 residents. I guess that's, relative. That's pretty large.
Yeah.
But it just is so tragic, right? And you think about a domestic violence situation that ends in the death of 8 children.
Well, and even his prior criminal history, they said it wasn't extensive, but it was a charge of illegal use of a handgun. He pulled a gun out, took off. People were chasing him. He brandished it, fired 5 rounds in the direction of a school. Little children were playing outside. So, and I saw one post that said, man involved in shooting has a history of mental illness. Yeah. But how a person like that gets in possession of a firearm, I don't know. Of course, anybody can get a firearm these days, but it's just what you can do with a loaded 9mm handgun with a full magazine is really disturbing. And 8 people are dead, two more injured, and then the suspect himself killed by the police officers in while they were chasing him.
So this is a BBC story, so of course the story has gone international, but they say that 7 of the children who died were his children. There was another child who was killed that was not his child, and then there was another child, a 9th child, who was shot, but he jumped off the roof. It doesn't say he was shot. It says he was taken to the hospital after jumping from the roof trying to escape. There also was a child who was killed on the roof. We see that from the Associated Press. And then the 2 adult women, the child's mother and another woman, they're in critical condition. And I don't know that I haven't seen yet the order. The one other child who was shot was a cousin. There are 3 boys and 5 girls, and they have changed the age. I think there's some moving parts here. So I've seen, as you just read, and we just heard, ages 1 to 14, but I'm also seeing this one say they've had to revise the ages from 3 to 11. But in any case, 8 children dead, 7 siblings, 1 cousin, 2 women in critical condition.
Yeah, and if it's execution style, you could assume everybody was shot in the head or something like that. So even those that are alive and in critical condition are certainly struggling right now. Maybe the best to them, and hopefully that they'll recover. But the community needs to recover too. This is not something that everybody just goes back to school the next day, because if there were 7 kids at that age, 8, chances are most of them went to the same school.
And I'm seeing a Washington Post story. You asked, was this related to a divorce? Yes, his wife had asked for a divorce, and they had an argument about it. And he shot her first, and then went to a different location where he shot and killed the kids.
Literally had to hunt them down.
Yeah.
My
gosh!
As a child, what do? When Dad's upset, you run from your own father.
Oh my
Apparently,
goodness.
1 or 2 tried to. That scene had to be. That scene just had to be awful, and then the manner of the execution of the children shows complete callousness on his part. We'll never understand fully what happened there, what caused him to break, but it's a situation that I see in my practice, both when I was a prosecutor and as a defense attorney, far too often. Police officers see it far too often when they respond to domestic violence situations, and they themselves are put in a position where they have to use deadly force. I appreciate the worker, the legislator that spoke to it and said, hey, we really need to look at domestic violence as a part of our package at the next legislative session. Yeah, we say that all the time, but there's just only so much you can do.
Well, like you just mentioned, Utah's not immune. And this weekend, we found out there was a Harriman woman who was murdered by her husband. And we found out just barely that it was 1 day after she filed for divorce. And so I have to ask, if you know that leaving is going to potentially be very deadly, what options do women have in trying to leave that kind of relationship? We're going to talk about that with an expert when we come back.
I'm Christian Staples with Arctic Spas. Spring is here, and that means pool time is here. No one makes it easier to have a pool in your backyard than Arctic Spas. We just need 2 days, and you can swim for exercise or enjoy family fun. Arctic Spa's all-weather pools continue to be fun all year round versus a regular pool which you can only use during the summer. We make it easy with maintenance-free filters, automatic natural salt water, and automatic pH control. No one wants to spend their time taking care of their pool. We just want to enjoy it. And that is what Water Care Automation is all about. If you're looking for a pool that is easy to install, easy to maintain, easy on the wallet, and you can use it year-round, look no further than Arctic Spa's all-weather pools. For more information, check us out at arcticspasutah.com or one of our 3 stores covering all of Utah in Salt Lake, American Fork, and St. George. Arctic Spa, the only spa built for Utah's harsh climate.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
A mother's love doesn't always look the same. It's in the woman who raised you, the one who chose you, the one who stepped in when you needed it most. It's in grandmothers, sisters, mentors, and the women who show up again and again with love, strength, and grace. This Mother's Day, Duke's Jewelers celebrates all of them. At Duke's Jewelers, they believe women who shape our lives deserve something just as meaningful as the love they give. Something timeless, personal, and filled with heart. From classic diamonds to one-of-a-kind designs, every piece is chosen to honor her story and yours. A piece she'll wear every day and think of you. Join Duke's Jewelers this Mother's Day and enjoy a complimentary rose with any jewelry purchase while supplies last. Because every kind of mom deserves to feel seen, celebrated, and loved. Visit Duke's Jewelers on Main Street in Springville and at dukesjewelers.com.
1-877 Cards for Kids. KARS Cards for Kids. 1-877 Cards for Kids. Donate your card today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate it to Cars for Kids. Call 877 Cars for Kids to speak to a friendly live agent. Donation is super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Go to carsforkids.org now or call 877 Cars for Kids to donate your car today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids.
Did you know you can donate real estate too? Go to carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
Right now, water heaters are on sale at Any Hour Services. Schedule a free estimate today to see how much you'll save. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
All in together now, we can make it better. Can we do it? We're open up.
'Cause we know how to jump.
Moving and eating better every day can help make you and your kids healthier. Search We Can online to find out more. A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
The new Inside Sources.
Well, police in Harriman City found a woman killed in her home by what they describe as blunt force trauma. A man was also found in the home, and it was determined that he had killed himself. The family of the woman killed in what could be called a murder-suicide said she had filed for divorce papers just the day before, Holly. KSL's News Radio's Brianna Willis has more.
The family of Linda Paola Zerpa Laura says she filed for divorce on Thursday, and it was the next day she was found dead in her home. Laura's family tells KSL she and her ex had lived separately, but she planned to meet with him Friday afternoon, and the family worried after not hearing from her for several hours. They say she was a mother, entrepreneur, and an active member of the Venezuelan community.
So what's so, it's just scary, right? Because the part of the rest of the story says that they had an amicable relationship, that even though they weren't living together anymore, they had a son that was 10 years old, was not home at the time. His mom was killed. And that she filed for divorce, and one day later she's dead. And I really hear, I just keep hearing these stories about women who are killed as they try to leave. And there's kind of a famous saying that goes, men are afraid that women will laugh at them, and women are afraid that men will kill them. And I just wonder what resources are available if somebody wants to leave a situation, even if there wasn't a long history of domestic violence. But what if this person is saying, look, we're not even living together anymore. I want a divorce. What are some options? So luckily we have with us Kimmy Wolf with the Utah Domestic Violence Coalition. Kimmy, thanks for joining us today.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
It's sorry that we have to have you on in situations like this, Kimmy, but we do appreciate you very much. Can you tell our listeners in situations like this, what is available to women who are in abusive situations and are afraid and maybe feel like just reaching out to friends and family isn't enough?
So, it's funny that you said, reaching out to friends and family might not be enough. The victim also might be fearful of placing them in harm's way as well. So having 24/7 language-capable services, a hotline that anyone can call and remain confidential. Calling our hotline, which is 1-800-897-LINK, LINK. It's not initiating a police report, which some people are leery of. It's not disclosing any type of information. You don't need to go to a location. You can call or text. That's a great resource, a starting resource for someone who does not know where to go, but feels that they are in harm's way.
Are we finding, Kimmy, that a lot of these happen, as we're talking about today, just this story and the one before, in response to one party filing or indicating that they want divorce, they want out, and that there's a particularly volatile time in relation to that?
Absolutely. And this goes back to the question that, people want to say, well, why don't they just leave? The reality is that when someone decides to leave a domestic violence situation, that separation timeline, that could actually increase the level of violence, sometimes 18 to 24 months after the relationship ends. So this is a very, very dangerous time for someone, and it has to be done carefully. It has to be done on their time schedule, not just what we think will just leave. With the increase in potential for violence, sometimes, lethal violence, victims have to be strategic about how and when they leave, and we definitely need to support them and respect that process.
So, Kimmy, we know that the victim in Harriman was part of the Venezuelan community, that she immigrated here maybe 8 years ago. And part of the KSL story and part of my concern as well, and I've heard it from other places, is that people who are immigrants now are afraid to report even domestic violence because they're afraid that maybe ICE is going to detain them, whether they're here illegally or not. What kind of advice do you have for people who are in the immigrant community who might be facing domestic violence?
Well, sadly, threat of, legal deportation, threat of being outed as an illegal immigrant here, that's always been a tool for domestic violence perpetrators of someone who does have non-legal status here in the United States. But domestic violence service providers, we do not ask Social Security number. You do not need to have, any proof of residency. So do not hesitate to reach out to a service provider. I know sometimes people don't understand that. They think a nonprofit means that you are a government entity, and that is not the case. So do not let a vulnerable, immigration status deter anyone from reaching out and getting to a safe location, safety from a domestic violence situation.
Can you tell us, Kimmy, what Utah is doing what Utah has done in the last several years with respect to domestic violence? It seems like it has been a hot topic for our legislature. It seems like there has been, for example, the lethality assessment that law enforcement uses when they come upon situations like this. But are these things seemingly working?
They really are, and where I substantiate that is that we are having service providers that are seeing sometimes up to 100% increase. That's doubling their workload from referrals from law enforcement doing these lethality assessment protocols. Now, many of these referrals are people that have not had any previous interaction with that domestic violence agency. So that law enforcement officer could very well be making that initial connection with the service provider. And possibly without that conversation, without that assessment, they might not have been able to make that connection at that time, which I think is invaluable.
So, Kimmy, I'm seeing also that in this situation, in Harriman particularly, there hadn't been any previous domestic violence reports. What kind of red flags could people look for? And I don't know if there were any in this case, but with no previous reporting, what kind of information or signs could people in and around this victim and the perpetrator, what could they have looked for? There definitely could be some signs, and maybe we might not understand them, unless we're looking back, with 20/20 hindsight. But I definitely think that any indication from the victim that he or she is fearful of their situation, that maybe their situation has changed. I know that in this situation, the relationship, the co-parenting relationship was described as amicable, possibly, but that doesn't mean that it's a stagnant status. Would a situation change? Just all of a sudden things were going well, but maybe the co-parenting has become difficult. Maybe someone has moved on in a new relationship, and that has stressed the situation. So anytime a victim says that they are now concerned about their physical safety, take that seriously, because there are indicators that, the victim would believe that should be the case. And I think we need to respect that.
Are there resources available also, Kimmy, to children who are involved in situations where mom and dad have domestic violence issues? And I say that because it seems like often when a child is exposed to domestic violence, the child might feel more like that's an acceptable behavior.
So with children observing and experiencing domestic violence, it can become so complicated. So I strongly suggest that when someone reaches out to a domestic violence provider, please know that there are also children's advocates, children's counselors on staff. So we're not just talking to the survivor about their situation. We are trying to look after the entire family, and that includes the children that have witnessed or experienced the violence. And they have, and it's very difficult for them to process loving a parent in the home. So there's so many mixed emotions that children have in a domestic violence household. And so it is important that we connect a family, including the children, to child-specific counseling and support services.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kimmy, for joining us again. That was Kimmy Wolf, Utah Domestic Violence Coalition, and they have done a lot, Holly. I've been familiar with that group for several years, and they've done a tremendous amount. Remember, their confidential hotline 24/7 is 1-800-897-LINK. And when we come back, President Trump has signed an order to accelerate access to psychedelic drug treatments. Is that a good thing? We'll want to talk about that when we come back after this.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. The Salt Lake City Police Department is still investigating an overnight shooting that happened at a hotel near 615 South 300 West. We know that one person is dead, but police believe it was an isolated incident between individuals who knew each other. We have a reporter on the scene gathering details. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Iran says it has resumed blocking off commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz again, as the U.S. says it has also not let up on its blockade of ships utilizing Iranian ports. The price of oil has already gone back up, and the markets have been in sluggish territory today. Oil prices keep going up and down. That means airfare prices are as well. Going.com's Katie Nasser tells ABC News some popular destinations for the summer could be expensive.
Domestically, we're seeing a coastal summer. So think New England, New York, as well as Honolulu and San Francisco Bay Area. But then we've got the World Cup coming. All of those host cities are on the rise.
She says if you want to save some money, plan to travel in August instead of June. Your money at this moment, the Dow down 44 points to 49,403. Coming up, we're going to hit 80 today, probably. And tomorrow, too. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-551-7672. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-551-7672. That's 800-551-7672.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Is your financial advisor managing your risk or just a spreadsheet? Hi, I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. Many financial advisors rely on target date funds, which are one-size-fits-all portfolios that don't know your name, your family, or your goals. And that passive management can leave you dangerously exposed. At Trajan, we look at the whole picture, not just the stocks everyone else buys, but the private market opportunities most advisors ignore. And as fiduciaries, we build a strategy around you, coordinating your investments, tax strategy, and estate into one cohesive plan. Your financial life deserves more than just a generic portfolio. Real planning isn't a stack of statements. It's the confidence of knowing where your income will come from for the next 30 years. Good enough isn't good enough for your family. It's time for a change. Schedule your complimentary consultation today.
Call Trajan today at 801-207-9900. That's 801-207-9900.
Advisory services through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Private equity investments require accreditation. Other services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax. Additional disclosures at TrajanWealth.com.
Business technology has changed a lot over the last 70 years. But one thing hasn't.
Les Olson is here.
As the years have passed, there's been one constant. And after 70 years and still counting, Les Olson IT is here with the technology and the people to make life easier, more productive, and more secure for your business. Let Les be here for you.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Build smart, save big. UCCU. Love where you bank. Here's Cormac Bone.
No major delays all across the Wasatch Front, but we do have a couple of crashes still in. We got one northbound I-15 just before the I-80-201 interchange. They're blocking a right shoulder there. And one on southbound I-15 in Utah County just before 2100 North in Lehigh, also blocking a right shoulder. And then we have a crash transitioning from southbound I-215's west belt to go westbound I-80. They're blocking a right shoulder in that transition ramp in that construction zone, but we don't see any delays behind them either. While you're planning your day, plan for comfort too with the Good Feet store. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
It's going to be hot today. Highs reaching the 80s. Clouds come in, and then we'll see a similar day tomorrow before temps drop about 20 degrees by Wednesday, and then some rain. Right now, it is 66 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, we've learned that President Trump signed an executive order on Saturday directing researchers to speed up their work on psychedelic-based therapies to treat post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and addiction. And this comes as we've learned that military veterans groups have said that these particular drugs can help treat PTSD. Here's FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty Makary telling ABC News more about the order.
Increased funding for this type of research. There are dramatic testimonials. We want to see good science behind it as well. And also a new pathway so that it's not treated as a controlled substance when it's administered in a controlled setting by doctors or practitioners in a medical setting. For many of these veterans, the wars on the ground are over, but our men and women are still dying. And that's because the battle is still raging in their brain. And these psychedelics have offered now a new approach to dealing with some of these issues.
You know what's really troubling about psychedelics, Holly, is that they were introduced for this very purpose decades ago, but because certain individuals abused them, Timothy Leary, and it got to the point where they became recreational, and so we put the kibosh on it all. But even LSD was a drug that was introduced for these type of things, and it had tremendous promise, but people just took advantage of it.
I do have to tell you, I heard this story years ago when I was training to become a midwife, so I don't actually know if it's true or anecdotal, but that LSD, before it became illegal, it was something that OBs would prescribe to their pregnant women because it made them feel better.
Yeah, I don't doubt it at all.
So we do actually have somebody who has worked on this issue at the Utah State Legislature, and that's Representative Jen Daly Provo. She has really been behind a push to find a way to do more research on these. And I think it was this last legislative session, if I remember correctly, Representative Daly Provo, that you got it through?
Yes. Hi, everybody. How are you today?
Very well.
That was HB 390. We worked with stakeholders and advocates, and most critically, veterans advocacy groups to clear a pathway and provide some funding, some state-level funding right here in the state of Utah for Hudson Mental Health Institute to conduct a clinical trial on psychedelics up at, right here in the state of Utah, where we, University of Utah and all of its affiliates are world-class clinical trial researchers. And so we're eager to see what kind of good, solid information we can provide for in this research space. And, hopefully, I think that Utah is really going to set the national standard for the best way to carefully undergo clinical trials, and not to be, light about the severity of the issue. These are Schedule I for a reason, and it's not just because, people abuse them. It's because there are real significant risks. And I would point out that the executive order that came out on Saturday really only called out ibogaine specifically, although the overall sentiment was for psychedelics. And so there's some significance to that as well, given some social media pushes in the Trump sphere.
Well, Representative, you've got to feel encouraged by the administration's executive order and placing $50 million in research, because that seems to dovetail very well with exactly what you're trying to do here in Utah.
Well, I like the sentiment of it, and I like that the the statement was that there would be $50 million in funding, and this is geared specifically at federal-state partnerships, because I do believe that there's got to be a change in state research research funded by states. We have to be a better partner in this instead of just letting this happen at the federal level. I do want to urge some caution, though. This is not $50 million in new funding that the federal government is coming up with. This is a directive within the FDA to redirect $50 million in funding to this. And while I certainly support careful, innovative approaches to research on psychedelics to treat some very significant mental health crises in our nation, let's be present to the fact that over $2.7 billion in our nation has already been completely cut from cancer research alone. And so I think it would be prudent to at least have a conversation about redirecting $50 million where that's going to come from.
Yeah, thank you for that point. I have a question, because I am so external to this issue, except for seeing what happened on the Hill. What is it that we already know, and maybe what are researchers trying to determine about psychedelics that can be used to treat some of these issues?
Well, I can speak to HB 390. One of the things that we want to be really cognizant about is that we're not just treating with medication alone, that these treatments are being carefully layered with very thoughtful psychological evaluations, with partnering medications, with carefully designed treatment plans that are that are broader than just providing medications, and making sure that we understand for this trial for treatment-resistant PTSD, what other therapeutics need to be partnered with the application of a psychedelic medication, and what are the short-term and long-term impacts. And so being really careful about the overall delivery of care, not just giving somebody a pill and hoping that things go well, and doing it in a careful randomized controlled trial methodology.
Can you tell our listeners, Representative, what HB 390 does differently than maybe what the executive order does? Does it deal with different types of these type of drugs?
So HB 390 creates a pathway for a number of psychedelics that are outlined in the statute. Psilocybin is one, MDMA. I believe I honestly can't remember if Ibogaine was one of them. But the critical difference, between an executive order, especially this one, is that it's headline grabbing and it's important, obviously, but it's not the bellwether turn of events that people might hope that it is going to be. HB 390 actually provides funding and a legal mechanism to do research. The executive order directs the FDA, directs the FDA commissioner to provide the commissioner's national priority vouchers to psychedelic drugs. That's a new program, the CNPV, and it's important because it does recognize that there is bureaucracy and red tape that needs to be overcome so we can create new, pathways to target a review timeline with just a couple of months. But the critical thing about that is this council only makes non-binding recommendations to the Center on Approvability. So they can make recommendations, but they can't say this has to be rescheduled. Still has to go through a careful process for the rescheduling. Now, that said, we have scheduled medications that we do clinical trials on. Medical cannabis is one of them, psilocybin, et cetera. But this order, it still maintains full FDA and DEA oversight and doesn't legalize or reclassify psychedelics because the president cannot compel rescheduling. These medical reviews have to be undergone, and the executive order can't force an outcome that he wants. One of the other things about the directive was the directive for the Attorney General to initiate reviews upon completion of the phase 3 trials. But the reality in that, while it sounds really bold and innovative, is that the DEA is already required by statute to reschedule drugs that have FDA approval. And so I like that there's attention to it. I like that there is an effort and desire to move down this path, but we need to be realistic about what this is going to mean. And people, it's one thing to say, I want to do these things, but we have to get people in the lab, in trials, to do the work, to actually get there. And so, again, I like the intent of the executive order, but I want people to be realistic about their expectations and what we need to do to get there.
All right. Thank you so much. That was Representative Jen Daly-Provost, and we're talking about a new executive order directing researchers to speed up their work into psychedelic-based therapies. Now, this is interesting. A lawsuit is claiming that energy drinks, specifically Alani Nu, caused heart enlargement and heart failure in a 17-year-old cheerleader. We're going to talk about that lawsuit when we come back.
You deserve a home that's truly your sanctuary. Why are you waiting? Dreammaker Bath & Kitchen helps turn someday into today. A space that works and feels like you. Because design and build live under one roof, your remodel experience stays organized. From the first discovery consultation to the final walkthrough, with one team from start to finish. You deserve a home that you can truly be happy in. And that's possible right now. A clear, structured timeline keeps guesswork out of your kitchen or bath project, and it starts with your budget and a fixed price. Then the detailed plan begins with smart and stylish selections, so you know exactly what to expect. Dreammaker Bath & Kitchen is built on integrity and customer focus, and that shows up in the little things, clean job sites, and proactive updates that keep you fully in the loop. Back nationally and 3 locally owned Wasatch Front locations. Schedule a consultation at dreammaker-remodel.com. That's dreammaker-remodel.com. Enhancing lives, improving homes. dreammaker-remodel.com.
A mother's love doesn't always look the same. It's in the woman who raised you. The one who chose you. The one who stepped in when you needed it most. It's in grandmothers, sisters, mentors, and the women who show up again and again with love, strength, and grace. This Mother's Day, Duke's Jewelers celebrates all of them. At Duke's Jewelers, they believe women who shape our lives deserve something just as meaningful as the love they give. Something timeless, personal, and filled with heart. From classic diamonds to one-of-a-kind designs, every piece is chosen to honor her story and yours. A piece she'll wear every day and think of you. Join Duke's Jewelers this Mother's Day and enjoy a complimentary rose with any jewelry purchase while supplies last. Because every kind of mom deserves to feel seen, celebrated, and loved. Visit Duke's Jewelers on Main Street in Springville and at dukesjewelers.com.
If you don't care about saving 50% off your wireless bill for the same 5G coverage the big guys are charging a fortune for, maybe you care about keeping jobs in America. Pure Talk does. They've pledged to run their entire operation from this country, including all their customer service. Or maybe you care about our nation's veterans. Pure Talk does. They've donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to America's Warrior Partnership, a fantastic organization working hard to prevent veteran suicide. Or maybe you care about closing America's skills gap. Pure Talk does. They're a proud supporter of MicroWorks. They're helping my foundation train the next generation of skilled workers. Don't get me wrong. Saving money's great, and you'll save plenty with Pure Talk. But if you want to be in business with people who share your values, dial pound 250. Say micro, and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
Does your home have peeling paint or faded colors? Don't procrastinate. You need to protect your home with quality paint and a worry-free process, so make an appointment with CertaPro Painters. You quickly get a free estimate that's detailed, easy to understand, and then their trusted local professionals will bring fresh color to your home with quality craftsmanship at the right price. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated, so schedule your free estimate at CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C. CertaPro.com.
Everything to my back is dark.
High in the alpine wilderness.
Really ugly clouds coming over from the north.
A place.
The ridgeline is imposing, the escarpments, the drops.
Where survival.
It's dark now. I have nothing.
Is never certain.
This is not good.
My name's Dave Cawley, and I'm the host of a podcast called Uinta Triangle. It's about the disappearance of an Australian hiker named Eric.
Our conclusion and that of the sheriff is that the mountains have decided to keep him.
Come retrace Eric's footprints with me.
You have done this walk too, but this is your backyard.
Did he really make a wrong turn, or did he decide that he was done?
He is not the first or last person to vanish in this remote region.
It was haunting to see the photos. I mean, really.
Find and follow the podcast series Uinta Triangle. That's Uinta, spelled U-I-N-T-A, Triangle, wherever you get your podcasts. All episodes out now.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel neglected or unloved? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Inside Sources.
The family of a 17-year-old cheerleader and tennis player who died from cardiomyopathy, which is an enlarged heart, has filed a lawsuit against a distributor of the popular energy drink Alani Nu, and they allege in their lawsuit that the girl's heart condition was caused by the large amount of caffeine in the beverage.
Yeah, Larissa Nicole Rodriguez, age 17, she was just a child and beautiful young woman, had cardiomyopathy at the time of her death. In October 25, she'd been drinking at least one of these drinks a day, according to the lawsuit.
And it had, one can had 200 milligrams of caffeine in 12 ounces, and up to 400 milligrams of caffeine is considered safe for most adults, but experts do recommend that teens limit caffeine to 0 to 100 milligrams a day. So a couple of other things I want to point out. There are several other deaths. And in fact, I've been teaching a public speaking class. One of my students chose to speak on energy drink related deaths, not knowing. I mean, she included this lawsuit, but there's several others. And so there's one, a young woman, her name was Sarah Katz, and she died in 2022, and her parents are suing, saying that this was one against Panera Bread, saying that their charged lemonade induced cardiac arrhythmia that ultimately killed her. I mean, there's just multiple lawsuits. So this one particularly is claiming that Alani Nu is not doing enough to warn consumers about the potential dangers to their heart.
Yeah, and you have to wonder, these energy drinks have just taken off. I mean, I drove foolishly from Phoenix to Salt Lake or to Ogden actually on Saturday, and I go to the store to get a little shot of caffeine, and the refrigerators are just filled with these energy drinks.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I don't know much about them. There's Monster, there's a whole bunch, but they just look like that they're just loaded with caffeine and other things that some of which may be helpful. I looked up this statistic that they say 400 milligrams is the most you should have as an adult, and then I looked up my particular coffee beverage that I get in the morning, and which is a latte from Starbucks, and learned that that's about half of my daily. I shouldn't drink more than one of those a day.
Yeah.
To stay within that, and so I need to rethink things.
I think one of the things too, if you mentioned going in and seeing like these coolers are packed full, but one of the things I think is that the advertising does seem to be geared towards maybe a younger audience. You've got very bright, colorful packaging. You have influencers all over the world promoting different energy drinks. There's Red Bull contests, right? That they promote these extreme sports, those kinds of things. And I will say that caffeine-related deaths seem to be pretty small percentage-wise, but they are still happening.
Yeah, caffeine is such a intrinsic part of our environment of what we do. You almost think if we didn't have caffeine available in coffee beans and tea and whatnot, it would be regulated. It would be something that we'd take a closer look at. But because it's so readily available in so many sources, it's kind of one of those substances that you just have at it and let the buyer beware. But when you're dealing with young people, I like this. The experts recommend teens limit caffeine to 0 to 100 milligrams a day. In other words, maybe you don't need any caffeine when you're a kid. I started drinking it at a young age. Coffee I shouldn't have, and now I drink far too much. But definitely need to dial that back.
So, again, it's an interesting conversation, right? How much caffeine is too much caffeine? And I will tell you, some of these stories that I have read is they're knocking down 6 energy drinks a day.
Yeah.
And those energy drinks, some of the energy drinks will say that they have 200 milligrams per serving, but the can holds 2.5 servings, right? Or 3 servings. I can't even imagine how that would feel. I don't drink energy drinks. I've tried a time or two, and they make my heart race. I'm like, yeah, I'm done with that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of sugar in them too, and other things. It seems like there's a lot going on there. I when I've done bicycle races, sometimes they'll have them as you get close to the end, because especially these long distance endurance races where you have 4 or 5 hours left to finish, then they give you a 4 or 5 hour energy boost. It'll certainly carry you to the day, but at what expense?
So we have a texter who sent us a website. It's called caffeineinformer.com, and they actually put in there the amount of caffeine in soda and energy drinks and coffee, tea, energy shots. And it's interesting. I'm just scrolling through, and I'm seeing some that have, of course, 0, like 7-Up doesn't have anything, and some as high as 280 for 16 ounces. Let's see.
That's your daily allotment.
Right there, right in your very first drink. 300 Bang Energy, Bang Keto Coffee. Those have 300 milligrams of caffeine in 16 ounces. There's, again, it's one of the issues. Oh, this is Black Label brewed coffee. This got to be a typo. 1,500 milligrams? That's got to be a typo.
Black Label?
You would think, right?
Well, there are some that are pretty high octane coffee. I don't know that anything would go to that level. But when you go to the typical convenience store and you get coffee, they certainly have the high octane ones, the Jolt, whatever it's called. But they have coffee. I don't know. They should maybe put the numbers next to it before you get it. But there's some coffees that tend to be more potent than others as it relates to caffeine. And same with energy drinks, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a concern. And so let me ask you, just from your legal perspective, what is the chance of a lawsuit like this going anywhere?
So it's going to be hard, because if you look back, we would have said the same thing about lawsuits against cigarettes, 30, 40 years ago, and lawsuits against what we're seeing right now, social media providers that are getting information to our kids and doing things and causing harm. So you have to really put a connection between the product and the harm. That's one thing. Did this particular product cause the harm that this young woman suffered? And then you need to go to the provider, the person that sold the product, and say, did you inappropriately or in any way market this to kids in a way you shouldn't have? Obviously, you can't market alcohol and cigarettes to children for obvious reasons. This was a 17-year-old. And of course, it's not a controlled substance. It's a drink you can buy at any store if you have enough money. But should it be marketed to those kids? Should it be something where they are really looking at it, and you see young people drinking it? And of course, you talked about the Red Bull Rampage, all the things that I've seen on TV where you have, these drinks that are very popular, sponsoring these events where all these kids are coming. They're racing bicycles and skiing and do that kind of stuff. It seems like it's a real energy situation.
Yeah. I have to tell you, there is an appropriate use for caffeine, and I'm seeing this. This is from Rutgers University, but I saw this in my own child. So I had a child born with disabilities 31 years ago, and when he was in the NICU, the Newborn Intensive Care Unit, he just kept forgetting to breathe. He was, even though he was considered full term or close to full term, he was neurologically underdeveloped, and they gave him straight caffeine. Like, literally, he got caffeine in his system, and I can't remember the amount. Of course, it wasn't going to be over. It helped rev his system enough that he wouldn't stop breathing, right? Of course, that was a huge concern.
Yeah.
And so I, at home, gave him liquid caffeine as a tiny baby just to keep his system going. And, of course, he was on a heart monitor and stuff to follow until he was stable. But it is interesting. This is a Rutgers article. This is from a year ago, but saying why caffeine might hold the key to preventing sudden infant death syndrome. So there can be appropriate medicinal uses of caffeine.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we talked about in the last segment. There can be appropriate medicinal uses of hallucinogens, but the problem is people don't take it that way. Right. People don't follow the instructions or follow the label, and I'm certainly not blaming this child. That she may have been the subject of way too much media attention that these products were giving her. Other kids taking it. It seemed like the thing to do. Everybody's drinking one of these energy drinks every day. I see them. They're just flying off the shelves. I mean, everybody's buying them. They're very popular, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Although we did see some the 7-Eleven heroin,
gas station heroin. Kratom.
Yes, some legislators are taking a look at things, and maybe we'll take a look at this as well. Well, should your kids be drinking energy drinks? When we come back after the break, we're going to ask a doctor to break down just how much caffeine is too much and what else is in these energy drinks when we come back.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. Salt Lake City police are still looking for the person suspected of shooting and killing someone at a downtown hotel early this morning. Salt Lake City Police Detective Michael Ruff says this happened just after 6:30 this morning at the Marriott on the corner of 6 South and 300 West.
Once officers were on scene, they located a room inside a motel here where one individual had been shot. That individual did die on scene.
Ruff says they believe the person who pulled the trigger knew the victim, so they don't think there's any threat to the general public. Ruff also says they're still looking for whoever's responsible. It's unclear whether there's just one suspect or multiple. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. FBI Director Kash Patel is suing The Atlantic for defamation, and he's demanding $250 million in damages.
The Atlantic cover story published last Friday alleges that FBI Director Kash Patel is a heavy drinker who frequents private clubs in Washington, D.C. and Las Vegas, something Patel expressly denies, telling ABC News the story is, quote, a lie. In court filings, Patel says The Atlantic and author Sarah Fitzpatrick knowingly published defamatory information. In responding to the $250 million lawsuit, The Atlantic says in a statement, "We stand by our reporting and will vigorously defend The Atlantic and our journalists against this meritless lawsuit." Sherry Preston, ABC News.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 64 points to 49,383. Coming up, 2 days hot in a row, and then we lose 20 degrees in temperatures by Wednesday. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 10:31.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Hey, have you seen the Johnson's house lately?
Yeah, new siding, new windows, even the gutters look amazing.
Right? I walked past 3 times yesterday.
You don't even live on this street.
I know, but their house looks that good.
When your siding, windows, gutters, and decking look great, people notice. That's what RGS Exteriors does.
Hi, Tim Brown here, RGS Exteriors. My family has been building and improving homes in Utah for 5 generations, and taking care of homeowners is something we take very serious. With over 1,300 5-star Google reviews, 21 Best of State awards, and our 10-year workmanship warranty, homeowners know they can trust RGS. Over 200,000 families across Utah have trusted RGS Exteriors with their home, and so can you. Schedule your free estimate today at 801-280-3110, 801-280-3110, 801-280-3110.
We want to talk about soda, diet, and nutrition. SOTA stands for state of the art. And Andy and I both let go of massive amounts of weight. You more than me.
70 pounds in 5 months.
And I did 37 pounds in 3 months. And what worked for me was so many things. Talking to a nutritionist every week and having her tell me what to eat. I can do as I'm told.
Yeah.
But I have no clue where to begin.
And I needed the help too. It's just food. There's no pills, no injections. So you learn how to both let go of the weight and then how to keep it off.
So soda, diet, and nutrition is a great place to start. But if you started with pills or medications and you find yourself starting to gain some weight back, soda, diet, and nutrition is a great way to learn how to have a new relationship with food to go into the future.
You can talk with a nutritionist by calling 866-800-SOTA, S-O-T-A, or you can go to their website, sotadietandnutrition.com.
Join now and your partner joins for free. 2 people, real accountability for the price of 1.
Join us for a short time to have results that last a lifetime.
As a social influencer, my days can be busy.
4 a.m., I hit the gym. 4:32, protein smoothie. 5:08, save time and money bundling my home and auto insurance with Progressive. Wait, if I bundle and save time, what would I do then? Just sit here and reflect? Like, why am I qualified to influence anyone? And how those weights are hollow? And half of my followers are bots?
You could save time and money bundling your home and auto when you switch to Progressive. It's one less thing to worry about during your already busy day. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Pump up the volume.
Business moves fast. Orders roll in, deadlines close in. When you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Every package stays in our secure network from dock to door. And with nationwide reach, dependable tracking, and upfront affordable pricing, you get built-in peace of mind. You run the business. We run the routes. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Earn 4.24% on savings at UCCU.com. Let's go back to the traffic center. Check in with Cormac Bone.
Roadways looking really good speed-wise all across the Wasatch Front, but we do have a couple of crashes. The first is on southbound I-15, just before 2100 North in Lehigh. They're blocking the right shoulder at the beginning of that off-ramp there. Looks like they've got a tow truck on scene there now, so hopefully they'll clear off the road soon. And then the other is transitioning from southbound I-215 to go eastbound I-80, also blocking a right shoulder there, but again, no delays behind them. Common Spirit hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advanced healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, looking at a warm day today, a high of 80. Clouds start to move in. We start to get a chance of rain tomorrow, although tomorrow's going to be extra warm, a high of 81. Then clouds bring some rain by Wednesday. Right now, it's 64 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
The family of a 17-year-old cheerleader and tennis player who died from an enlarged heart has filed a lawsuit against a distributor of the popular energy drink Alani Nu, saying that the girl's heart condition was caused by the large amount of caffeine in the beverage. So that lawsuit, we talked a little bit about that and energy drinks and caffeine. I want to just share a quick story before we talk with Dr. Ferguson about caffeine, about my own child, one of my own kids, actually two kids, who decided they wanted to try a caffeinated soda. And they would have been, maybe 12-ish. And my son decided he would try an orange soda that had caffeine in it at like 6 o'clock at night. He cried all night long because he couldn't sleep. He was so miserable, just so miserable. He could not go to sleep. And, soda has so much less caffeine than these energy drinks. Well, my daughter, who was older and should have known better, she's like, well, I want to see if that has the same effect on me. She was in my room at 5 a.m. crying that she could not sleep all night. I'm like, well, I kind of told you so. Okay.
We have with us this morning Dr. Richard Ferguson, president and founder of the Black Physicians of Utah. Dr. Ferguson, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Yeah, happy to be here and to discuss something that I think is unfortunately marketed to our younger children and teens.
Yeah, it does seem to be that way, right? I mean, there's this particular lawsuit that we mentioned. The parents are alleging that part of the problem was that a social media influencer was promoting this.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, these are marketed often as these energy drinks are not harmless pick-me-ups. They can deliver a very large caffeine load quickly, and along with other stimulants. Let's not ignore that there's things such as taurine and guarana that are in there. But under the age of 12, pediatricians do not recommend any caffeine ingestion, and even more so guarded between the ages of 12 to 18. I mean, we have to think about, maybe just measurements, right? So an entire 12-ounce cola has the same amount of caffeine in it as a cup of coffee. So often the recommended, when we think about the FDA and, what is considered a toxic amount, anything past 400 milligrams is when you start to get side effects. And actually, if someone is, and then children 12 to 18, pediatricians, they recommend not going past 100. So like that drink, the Inanali, I believe.
Alani Nu,
Alani Nu, that already has 200 milligrams in it. So it's already twice what's the caffeine limit that even American Academy of Child and Psychiatry and American Academy of Pediatrics would even say should be allowed. So you've got something that's on the counter, probably being marketed to young boys and teens or young adults as adolescents, and it shouldn't be, just because it can do so much more than keep you awake at night. Can give you a fast or regular heartbeat, elevates one's blood pressure. It can make you anxious, nauseous, and most of all, like you just referenced, restlessness and sleep loss. This is not something that our youth need. There's no benefit.
Dr. Ferguson, can you tell us how these affect youth more than adults? And maybe you just did, but is it something that is particular to young people, these conditions that you've just described, or maybe that's exacerbated with younger users of caffeine?
I almost put it along the same metric as sugar exposure or nicotine in youth. When we are forming our brain, especially our prefrontal lobe, where we have to rationale, reasoning, higher cognitive abilities and judgment, that's still very much forming. But if it's forming amongst certain chemicals, it starts not necessarily an addiction, but a dependency for that. And then that can, when people aren't having that constant kind of input, that doesn't lead to appropriate ability to learn or judgment. So we have to understand that we're in pretty much adolescence, let's just say 12 to 23. So during that time frame, excessive or caffeine exposure isn't good for a developing brain, just like it shouldn't be exposed to nicotine. It shouldn't be exposed to caffeine. And that's just talking about the impacts on the brain. Unfortunate, this young woman was suffering from dilated cardiomyopathy, which with chronic consumption of high-dose caffeine, we're talking more than 100 milligrams a day. And once again, 0 allowed under 12, but I know it can happen. This can lead to something called a dilated cardiomyopathy. So we have to be concerned and, if anything, restrict our children's access to these beverages because they're not health drinks. These are large doses of caffeine often being provided, and people think that it's not harming them. These are marketed as wellness fitness beverages or to improve one's performance. I mean, heck, even I had succumbed to this as a young junior high student starting to enter track. And I was offered, I don't know if you guys remember Vivarin. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Caffeine tablet?
Yep.
Right. So I had exposure to that, and nobody thought there was any harm from it until I started getting a racing heartbeat. But I thought it was given to me by a friend saying this will make you run faster.
So let me ask you a related question, Dr. Ferguson. What about like these pre-workout mixes that kids, it's adults as well, take, but don't they have a high amount of caffeine in those as well?
Yes, they do. They are not designed for kids. They are risky for teens. These drinks are, the fact that it says it gives you energy. Yes, just some of them have sugar in it, but the vast majority actually have just like a sugar substitute. So that's how they can also market it. They give you energy with no calories, right? Mm-hmm. But these are not for children. These should not be taken by teens, but even young adults. We really should refrain from taking a beverage that's supposed to help us with lifting weights or improving our cardiovascular health. If anything, it's increasing cardiovascular stress. Caffeine, it's in on almost many products, say at your local Smith's. If I'm the only one knows that particular product, Neo, where it kind of flavor your water. Yeah, there's a large amount of caffeine that's concentrated right there that people don't realize that it could be causing them harm, particularly just the fact that it increases one's heart rate and blood pressure even temporarily. It definitely is not strongly linked with improved performance, particularly that of cardiovascular. It increases one's... Oh, sorry, go on.
Well, I had an additional question about, you mentioned taurine earlier, and I didn't realize that this could be something that enhances the effects of caffeine. Why would we want to do that to ourselves?
Well, if you're someone that's marketing a certain product and you want to sustain the effects of caffeine on the body so that someone says, wow, I really, really like this drink. It stays with me for a good amount of the day. I can sip this, later on in the afternoon after I've had my coffee. This pretty much, it's done intentionally to lengthen the effects so that one will, I think, keep buying it.
We've got less than a minute left, Doctor, but what about for us old adults?
We're tired.
What are some safe levels for us? Asking for a friend, of course.
I think good sleep hygiene is important. Caffeine should not be seen as a substitute for sleep, hydration, or nutrition. And I think that another big takeaway is if you enjoy the taste of caffeine and it feels okay for a short amount, I would just say try not to go past 200 milligrams or 250 in the day as an adult. Long-term effects on us it depends on just the excess of use. If you're having more than 400 milligrams a day, you can start to change your heart, and not for the better. But if you can stay, under your 3 shots of espresso a day, I think that's good for your heart health.
All right.
But, yeah.
Thank you so much.
I gotta change
no
my
problem.
ways. Thanks, Doctor.
That was Dr. Richard Ferguson, president and founder of the Black Physicians of Utah. And when we come back, Utah's whiplash weather has left a local orchard in Provo without a fruit crop to harvest this year. I'm so sad. We're going to speak with a fruit farmer about how bad of a year it has been so far when we come back.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness.
And Utah isn't immune, with nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or another form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe.
That's why KSL has teamed with the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation to bring you hope and help you thrive.
It's Healthy Mind Matters.
Find out more at healthymindmatters.com.
For over 22 years, speaking on business on KSL News Radio has been a beloved tradition, celebrating our heroic business leaders and Utah consumers who have helped build one of the strongest state economies in the nation. Now, under the stewardship of the Salt Lake Chamber and hosted by Chamber President and CEO Derek Miller, the program continues to shine a spotlight on those who make Utah's business environment dynamic and thriving. With his expertise and passion, Derek brings the stories of our business community to life. As part of the Salt Lake Chamber, Speaking on Business is proud to continue its legacy of highlighting inspiring stories, trends, and special guests. Support Utah businesses now and be part of Utah's thriving economy. More information can be found at slchamber.com. That's slchamber.com.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
The NBA playoffs are right around the corner, and now you can trade every game on Kalshi. You can also trade on who wins each series, the conference finals, and the championship. On Kalshi, you're trading against other people in a live market. No house, no odds makers. And as odds move, you can buy in or out anytime throughout the postseason. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use code PASS to get $10 when you trade $10. KALSHI. Kalshi. Trade on anything.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, do it now. Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, a gripping new 9-part investigative podcast about a serial killer you've probably never heard of, Warren Forrest, a sadistic predator who prowled the Pacific Northwest in the early 70s. He hid behind the deeds of Ted Bundy, and he's only been convicted of 2 murders, but is suspected of many more. Since the release of Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, a witness identified in the podcast could lead investigators to the remains of Jamie Grissom.
He ran into the woods. He said he stumbled. As he fell down, he looks up and sees the body of a young woman.
And now the FBI is testing forensic evidence that had been collecting dust for decades. This cold case is now red hot. Binge the entire season of Stolen Voices of Dole Valley right now, wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on the latest breaking news.
And expanded Inside Sources.
This weekend, I saw a post on Instagram that kind of broke my heart. This is from All Red Orchards in Provo. And they had a picture of blossoms, right? But it said, the caption was this year the trees will rest empty, but the hands that care for them are still full of hope. And then their longer caption said, today we are reminded that farming teaches you to grieve a season and still prepare for the next one. And then we are, after all the events of the last few weeks and the weather last night, we know we won't have a fruit crop to harvest this year. We are sad, but we know this, even in a lost year, their roots are alive, and so is the resolve of all those who tend them. And I'm like, no, that's so sad.
How would you like to rely on that for part of your, or all of your income?
And they're not the only ones.
Yeah.
So the whiplash of this weather is impacting crops all over Utah.
Well, we just had a freeze last week, and you know what happened was we had this incredibly warm winter and not a lot of water. Even up in the valley where I live, up in the mountains, we started getting buds coming in early. We started getting the trees, and then boom, we got really cold the last couple of days.
Yeah. We have Chris Riley on the line with us, a fruit farmer in Utah with Riley's U-Pick down in Genola. Thanks for joining us this morning, Chris.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for having me.
What has your experience been this year?
Yeah, you guys mentioned, and I think as a kind of fruit growing community down here, we were afraid this was coming with the early warm up. We bloomed nearly 3 weeks earlier than normal, and just knowing our area and knowing this was likely to come through at some point, we were kind of bracing ourselves, but hoping maybe we'd squeak through all right. But yeah, unfortunately, what you're seeing and talking about there with All Reds is pretty well across the board with all the growers down in the area.
What do you grow there, Chris? Apples?
So we grow apples, peaches, and cherries. We also do some vegetable crops, but as far as tree fruits, that's both sweet and tart cherries.
So I'm just heartbroken. And I've been a long time canner as preserving fruit and stuff. So it's just, I don't have very many fruit trees at my house, but I rely on people like you. So I just have to say, first of all, I'm really sorry. That is just tragic. How
well, thank
often...
you. And the community support has been remarkable. So I really do appreciate that, as well as all the outreach we have had from the community around us.
So, Chris, how often does something like this, an either early warming, late freeze, really take out the fruit crop? Is this something that is just, part of fruit growing on a regular basis, or is it pretty rare?
It's a little bit of both, honestly. On our where our peach orchards are located in particular, we experience this about every I would say once out of every 5 years. Unfortunately, we've experienced something like this, but usually it's a lot more crop and location dependent, meaning like the tart cherries and apples that bloom later usually don't suffer this kind of damage. But with the earlier bloom, it's just to have it this widespread both across kind of all fruit crops and all areas in the state. That's pretty abnormal. I heard somebody say the last time they saw something like this was this widespread was 1972.
Oh wow! And can you tell us, because I don't understand the dynamics of it? I guess what is it that you observe? How do you know that the crop has been ruined?
It's interesting. I'm actually out in my orchard right now looking again, and it's hard to tell right up. Like, you have a cold night. That next morning, it's sometimes a little bit hard because it takes a little bit of time for the fruit and the trees to react. And so I'm quite shocked of how different my orchard looks right now than what it looked like on Saturday afternoon. The last time I was in here, I was a lot more hopeful on Saturday. Now we've had a couple of days of the heat, and so the fruits, trying to continue to develop and grow, but if it's been frozen, it becomes much more apparent. So what I was seeing Saturday is that, our peaches are about the size of a pea right now. And on Saturday, they were still pretty good size. They were green and vibrant, but they were kind of soft, which made me nervous, but I wasn't sure what that was going to result in. Now today they've kind of shriveled, and how do you know for sure? You cut it open, whether it's a flower or the fruit, the actual fruit. And if you see dark inside, brown or black, then you know that fruit's frozen. And like I said, I'm seeing a lot of that. I haven't found a good one yet. I've been out here for the morning looking.
So, Chris, what kind of impact, and if it's not too personal, but what kind of impact does this have on your business when you rely on these crops?
Yeah, it's a huge impact for sure, and not just on me and my family, but those that work here with me. We've got our crew of men that we brought up out of Mexico to work for the year, and they're relying on it for their families. I mentioned we grow vegetables. We have tried to diversify for this reason, so that all our eggs aren't in one basket. So I think we'll limp it through okay, but I do worry a lot. Unfortunately, we're looking at and having discussions of how many of these guys are going to have to send back home, and what's that going to mean for them and their families. And then the community as well. We hire a lot of local help, especially with our tart cherry harvest. A lot of school kids, as well as adults and teachers that come for some supplemental income in the summertime to help. And it's a pretty widespread effect.
Do you have some promising news with respect to, you mentioned apples and tart cherries, that maybe they came out a little bit later and maybe haven't been hurt as badly yet, or is it too early to tell?
No, and that's what's unfortunate about this year is usually that's the case, and they did bloom later, but everything bloomed 3 weeks earlier. So last week, everything's all wide open. Whereas, typically on a normal year, our peaches would be about getting ready to bloom now, and tart cherries and apples would be looking to bloom in the next 10 days or so. But with this warm winter and spring we've had, everything was just out and bloom, and so it's pretty, like I say, it's pretty uncommon to have this widespread across all crops, being peaches, sweet cherries, tart cherries, and apples. But it looks pretty devastating all the way across the board.
So we're for sure going to see that impact later this year. We do have a texter asking about crop insurance. Is that a thing that professional growers like yourselves have?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know to what extent, but definitely some do have crop insurance, and best case, that will limp you through the year, hopefully. It's not going to be anything that completely bails you out by any means. But that will, that definitely will help. It has its limitations for sure. There is also crop insurance through the Farm Service Agency, a government program, and that helps, but it's pretty limiting on how much it can help. And so that definitely will help us. Again, where I feel a lot of concern is for the people that, our employees that are just going to not have the work this year, and what are they going to do? Because obviously crop insurance isn't going to help them any either.
Yeah, that's
right. Are trees resilient, Chris? We've only got about a minute left. That is to say, is there any reason to think that next year will be damaged as a result of anything that's happened this year, or is it just a year-by-year equation?
No, it's pretty well year-by-year thing. And, farmers, we're very resilient. We're very optimistic, and, we're already looking forward towards next year and making plans for next year that we'll do all we can to serve all the people we can with fruit this year, whatever we can muster, but we'll plan on a big year for next year for sure.
We could probably plan on spending more for peaches this year, too.
If we buy them at all.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chris.
Yep, thank you.
When we come back, April is Second Chance Month, and we think about inmates at the prison and how long they're going to be there. Well, it's important to know that 94% of inmates are going to be released back into the community. So we're going to talk about a program at the Utah Department of Corrections that help improve the lives of people as they prepare to go back into the community. We'll be right back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top local story this hour, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is releasing new age group names for young women. The church says the names reflect their identity, growth, and purpose. Young women turning 12 or 13 are builders of faith, 14 or 15 are messengers of hope, and 16 or older are gatherers of light. The Salt Lake City police are now looking for the person suspected of shooting and killing someone at a downtown hotel earlier this morning. Salt Lake City Police Detective Michael Ruff says this happened just after 6:30 at the Spring Hill Suites Hotel on the corner of 6th South and 3rd West.
Once officers were on scene, they located a room inside a motel here where one individual had been shot. That individual did die on scene.
Ruff says they believe the person who pulled the trigger knew the victim, so they don't think there's any threat to the general public. Ruff says they are still looking for whoever is responsible. It's unclear whether there's just one suspect or multiple. A manhunt is also underway in Summit County this morning after police say a man escaped a home while they were making their way inside. This happened at a home on Bobsled Boulevard near Park City. Summit County Sheriff's Office Sergeant Skylar Talbot says the call came in as a domestic disturbance.
Anytime there's a domestic disturbance reported, there's certainly a heightened police response. Domestic disturbances can be very unpredictable. We don't know what is going on in the house.
Talbot says when they got to the home, a man was barricading himself inside, but when they went inside, he was gone. Talbot says they don't know where he is. There is no threat to the general public. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow Jones is down 71 points. That's just a fraction of a percent. The S&P 500 is down 26 points. That's about 0.3%, and the NASDAQ is down 136 points. That's just about 0.5%. Coming up, shorts and umbrellas are the name of the game this week. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:02.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Imagine a world where you can leave the house and take your home Wi-Fi speeds with you. Well, thanks to Xfinity Mobile, it's not just fantasy. Just picture it. You're at your kid's softball practice, streaming the other game in 4K, just like that. At the airport, download a cozy family comedy in a snap. What if the places you had to be felt more like everywhere you wanted to be? That's the magic of Xfinity Mobile. Reliable Wi-Fi and 5G when you need it. Xfinity. Imagine that. Cut your mobile bill in half with 2 lines of unlimited. Visit xfinitymobile.com to learn more. Restrictions apply. Xfinity Internet required. Savings based on promotional rate for 2 lines of Xfinity Mobile Unlimited versus regular rates for 2 lines of T-Mobile Experience More. Verizon Unlimited Plus and AT&T Starter as of 2/10/26. Taxes, fees extra after promo. Regular rates apply. Cut your mobile bill in half. Visit xfinitymobile.com. Xfinity. Imagine that.
This is Nate Orchard from Advanced Window Products. When you live in Utah, your windows do a lot more than let the light in. They protect your home from freezing winters, blazing summers, and everything in between. That's why Advanced Window Products builds every window for your local climate. No middleman, no out-of-state delays, just factory direct quality, custom made for your home. Imagine a quieter home, a warmer home, a cooler home. Our high-efficiency vinyl windows are engineered to lower your energy bills and boost your comfort all year round. And installation is done by our own certified in-house crews, never subcontractors. That's why Utah homeowners give us 5-star reviews. Right now, take advantage of our anniversary sale. For a limited time, get $2,500 off when you buy 10 or more windows. Call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. For 40 years, Advanced Window Products has been the name Utah trusts for custom replacement windows and sliding glass doors. Advanced Window Products, built here, installed here, trusted here. Call 801-850-9100 for that $2,500 off, or visit us at advancedwindows.com to schedule your free in-home estimate.
Let me ask you a question. You have a best friend? How big would it shock you if somebody told you that your best friend just killed somebody?
911, what's your emergency?
Someone on the other line said they kidnapped my son and they're demanding $500,000.
I've asked myself so many times, what in the world happened?
Ransom is available now. Listen at ransompodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Earn 4.24% on savings at UCCU.com. Here's Michelle Rowe.
We have a crash southbound I-15 in Lehi approaching 2100 north on the right shoulder, and then further south between Santaquin and Mona, there is a bridge reconstruction going on, and you're going to see some slowdowns there southbound. Also, Pioneer Crossing looking at signal problems, and that is jamming up the traffic. That is affecting both directions at 2300 west in Saratoga. Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
We're going to be seeing the 80s until Wednesday when we take a 20-degree dive to a high of 60 with a chance of thunderstorms. It'll stay in the high 50s and low 60s for the rest of the week, but right now it's 70 degrees and partly cloudy downtown. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
You know, we talk about our prison population. We talk about the fact that people are there, they're housed there. Sometimes we call them being warehoused there. But we don't talk a lot about the fact that 94% of those inmates are actually going to be released back into the community. And what I've found, Holly, is that people who are released back in the community without something to go to, without friends, family, support, career, education, whatever, go right back into the same lifestyle. And it's because I don't blame society. It's because we don't give them an opportunity to go somewhere. And I speak to individuals as they're getting out of prison, and they will often tell me the horror stories about. I had a guy tell me, look, there's some monsters in prison, and they're going to be out. They're going to be out on the street someday, and we're not doing anything about them except housing them. And so I was really encouraged when my friend Rich Pyatt, who's the public information officer for the Department of Corrections, told me about this program. And of course, I learned also that April is nationally recognized as what they call Second Chance Month. And the Utah Department of Corrections is actually doing something to give these people, to give these inmates what I really covet as a second chance.
Well, I learned something new, and that is that April is recognized as that. So I didn't know that before. So we have with us on the line Rebecca Brown, LCSW. She's the Deputy Executive Director for the Utah Department of Corrections, to talk to us about Second Chance Month. Thanks for joining us, Rebecca.
Thank you for having me.
I'm wondering if you can start just by telling us a little bit about the focus on second chances, just from a 30,000-foot view, and then maybe we'll get into some more details.
Yeah, thanks. The Department of Corrections over the last several years has become more deliberately focused on reentry and rehabilitation. In statute several years ago, we named the Reentry and Rehabilitation Division, and we have worked really hard to bring all of the resources together that follow a person's path from the first day that they enter prison throughout their time in transition into community supervision. So we have lots of resources available. We're working really distinctly on better assessments from the first day that they enter our system, and even working upstream earlier in their path in the criminal justice system to help provide intercepts along the way to better improve their long-term outcomes.
Rebecca, last week we had some individuals from Ensign College talking about a program that they've set up to give inmates a degree. Of course, the program has only been started for a little while, so they're just giving a certificate right now, eventually an associate's degree, perhaps even a bachelor's degree for some of these inmates.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing at the prison? What does this second chance mean, and how can inmates take advantage of it?
Well, we provide opportunities in job training, education, substance abuse treatment, and other risk reduction treatment programming. We are working to make sure that their case action planning is kind of all-encompassing an individual person's needs based on their criminogenic risk factors and their history within the criminal justice system. We work with many of our local higher education providers throughout the state to provide opportunities for certifications, education, job training, trades. We have the Utah Correctional Industries, which is one of our workforce development and training programs. And also through that program, you'll often see the things that they do, like print all of the license plates for the state of Utah or the road signs. And they're doing a lot of technical training. They do a lot of printing, art, and other welding and other things like that through that group. We have Davis Technical College. So just a host of opportunities across the system. We're often partnering with outside employers who are willing to engage earlier in transitioning our individuals into second chance employment placements. And we do have the 2 prisons, but we also are statewide. We have 6 community correctional treatment centers throughout the state as well. So we're working on engaging educators and volunteers in those areas as well.
So, Rebecca, you mentioned job training a couple of times, and I'm wondering if you could give us a few more details. What kind of jobs are residents in the correctional facilities? What are they being trained in?
Well, we have everything from institutional jobs and landscaping and grounds work to more technical vocational training certifications like database work or developing print graphics and other items like that. We also do provide services like resume writing assistance, interview skills training, and then we're working to actively connect individuals with employers for the fair chance hiring through recently hosted career fairs for individuals on probation and parole as well.
And I've heard from a lot of employers that there is really a need for the trades, welding, mechanics, machinists, furniture, woodworking. Are there trades that are being taught there at the prison as well? You mentioned, I think, at least one of those, welding.
Yeah, we do have all of those, actually, woodworking, furniture creation. So our UCI teams are producing quite a lot of furniture for other businesses and state departments. We do quite a bit of welding and other certifications through OSHA. We do some mining certifications. We're evaluating some opportunities for on-site simulators for CDL and other opportunities like that. We are doing, we work with the University of Utah for a bachelor's program in general education. So there really is a vast opportunity for individuals who qualify.
Can I ask you briefly about how the Utah Department of Corrections helps with substance abuse? I mean, I know if somebody goes in, then their access is cut off or at least limited. What do you do to help them as they go back into the community so they don't go back into those patterns?
Well, we do have a residential substance abuse treatment program at both of our prison facilities, and we work very closely with some of our other community partners and the Correctional Health Services team through the Department of Health and Human Services to address assessment, risk assessment, and then often the way that the system is designed right now, historically we will provide the substance abuse treatment dosages at the end of their stay and through the reentry process. But we are working really to enhance access to those services maybe earlier in their time with us and addressing other opportunities for involvement in more structured and accountable programming that may look like peer-led programming. We have currently a 384-bed peer-led, staff-supported therapeutic community model of treatment that really enhances accountability and structure at our facility in Salt Lake near the airport. And then in our Gunnison facility, we have a similar program as well with a similar number of individuals. So we're trying to provide a vast array of opportunities for those individuals who do want to maintain sobriety and want to continue to stay engaged in the treatment process. And then we're working really hard on any drug interdiction in the prison to make sure that we provide safe environments for individuals and make sure that we house people appropriately so that they can get access to the services that they wish.
This is wonderful. In fact, it's so exciting for me, Rebecca. I'm going to ask if you can stick around for another segment.
Okay.
That would be
Absolutely.
Great. When we come back, we're going to continue the conversation with the Utah Department of Corrections after the break, hear more success stories, and discuss what is the process for inmates re-entering the community. We'll be right back.
At Uline, they know firsthand the road to success is an uphill climb. Uline started in the family basement, and through hard work is now North America's most trusted shipping and industrial supplier. They get what it means to have the support of reliable, hard-working partners. So they keep 41,000 items ready to ship. Whether your company is still in a basement office or expanding cross-country, Uline will be there on your road to success. Visit uline.com.
Every year, the America First Charitable Foundation Diaper Drive provides essential goods to thousands of families, and you can help by dropping off diapers at any America First branch or by securely contributing funds online. Together, we can make life a little easier for those who need it most. So please visit americafirst.com to donate or to learn more today. The America First Charitable Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit corporation. Federal tax ID number 84-2568867. Donations are tax deductible to the extent allowed by law.
What are you doing every day to support your liver? If you enjoy sweets, fast food, alcohol, or take any medications, that's a vital question to ask. Hi, I'm Sherry Torkas, pharmacist and health author. For over 30 years, I've helped people make informed decisions about their health, especially concerning prevention and long-term wellness. Supporting your liver isn't just a wellness trend, it's a daily essential. That's why I recommend Active Liver by New Nordic. It's made with plant-based ingredients like milk thistle, turmeric, and globe artichoke, herbs clinically studied for their protective and restorative effects on the liver. Active Liver blends traditional herbal wisdom with modern scientific research. Not all supplements are created equal. I trust Active Liver because it's backed by science, meets strict quality standards, and delivers true daily liver support.
Active Liver is available online at Amazon or newnordicusa.com, or you can find it in stores at CVS, Meijer Grocery, Wegmans, and now Active Liver is available at your local GNC.
I was in foot pain for 20 years, trying to give it relief, buying all these different insoles, drugstore insoles, custom insoles. I spent thousands of dollars. I bought all these products, and not a single one worked. I really, truly needed to have relief in my feet. And the Good Feet Arch supports were what gave me the relief I needed.
For over 20 years, we've been helping people like Teresa, actually live the life they love without their feet getting in the way.
They wanted to make sure that I got something that my feet felt good in, not somebody else's feet. I love the fact that I can wear these arch supports in all my shoes. I have boots, I have cowboy boots, I have running shoes, I have walking shoes, I have flat shoes, I have heels. It makes me so happy. If you ask my husband, he will crack up because there is no store I would rather go in than a shoe store. I'm Teresa, and that's my Good Feet story.
See what we can do for you with a free personalized arch support fitting at the Good Feet store.
We have locations in Farmington, Riverton, and Sandy.
911, tell me exactly what happened. My son and his wife and their 2 children haven't responded.
Susan Powell disappeared on a snowy morning in 2009.
And I said, Josh, where are you? You need to get home.
And her husband will never be held accountable.
Your wife is missing, Josh.
Yeah,
but you want to think about it for a couple of days?
I'd had this overwhelming feeling that he had done something to her already.
I'm Dave Cawley, host of the podcast Cold.
Then he starts making phone calls to Susan's phone.
Hello, Susan. We are on our way back.
It's the deepest of deep dives into this tragic tale of abuse.
Where was Josh when Susan disappeared?
I don't know. Of one mother's desperate attempt to escape.
This is me, covering all my bases.
Help prevent it from happening again.
Our focus has and continues to be finding Susan.
Listen and learn by following Cold wherever you get your podcasts.
Email from school about the incident today.
Scary.
Tell me about it. Did you have any idea that was going on?
None. I mean, you saw Derek at the game last night, too. Did you have a clue?
No, but you know, teachers like me, parents, we don't always know as much as you guys do. Kids hear first about what's going on with other kids.
Half the time, it's rumors.
It can be hard to tell sometimes, but if you're ever concerned about a friend who's having trouble with alcohol, prescription drugs, bullying, violence, anything, you need to tell an adult. Mom or me, a teacher, coach, school counselor, someone you know and trust.
Dad, no kid is gonna tell an adult about that kind of stuff.
I get it, but if we don't know, we can't help. Speaking up about a problem, that's what helping a friend is all about.
For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
And expanded Inside Sources.
Well, April is nationally recognized as Second Chance Month. And what we're talking about is what happens to inmates, people who are imprisoned after they get out. Are they going to give a second chance? Are they going to have a second chance, rather? And if so, what does that look like? We've been talking with the Deputy Executive Director of the Utah Department of Corrections, Rebecca Brown, who's also a licensed clinical social worker, about programs that are being held right now at the prison to help inmates so that when they do get out, Holly, because this is the biggest problem we have with the revolving door,
of course,
is that inmates get out and they have no place to go except back to their old lifestyle.
Yeah.
So giving them that opportunity is huge.
So, Rebecca, I just wanted to ask you, what is the typical pathway for an inmate who wants a second chance? How do they get involved? How do they get started?
Well, we've changed our philosophical approach really in the Department of Corrections through recent administrative changes over the last few years, or administration changes over the last few years, to really begin at the first day of reentry. Historically, reentry was happening in the last 30 days, maybe the last 3 days of someone's path through the system. And we just feel like getting more involved with aptitude testing and understanding somebody's ability to read through literacy testing and doing more assessments based on the functional needs of the individual on the first day in the system, or even as they're kind of revolving in the system. In the Department of Corrections, we also have about 16,000 individuals who have maybe not yet entered the system behind the walls of the prison, but are on community supervision through probation. And so we do have that pathway. We'd love to get involved earlier and find some intercepts to help avoid ever coming into the prison system. But once somebody gets to us, they go through an intake process and kind of a assessment and observation process, and then they are housed based on the tiered housing models and their classification. And that is really where we find opportunities to provide opportunities for training, certification, education, employment, and more assessment with their case managers. I think So we're also working, we have a hybrid tablet model where individuals can access resources online. Maybe they're in our restricted housing settings and they will be coming back to our communities. We want to target those individuals as well. So we have many means to reach individuals and are just working really hard to make sure we continue to improve that access to improve their outcomes when they reenter. Because as you mentioned, 94% of the individuals that come to us will come back to our communities and be our neighbors, and we take that very seriously.
Rebecca, inmates in the Utah Penitentiary are usually held on what we call an indeterminate sentence, 5 to life or 1 to 15, and that determination of how much time they actually serve is typically by a board of pardons. Does the board have the ability, or do they look at an inmate's involvement in this second chance, and does it look good for an inmate, I guess is what I'm getting to have engaged in this type of thing when they go see the board? In other words, hey, I'm doing what I can to get my life together so that when I get out, I can get a CDL, I can start driving, I can start working. Does that help an inmate when they see the board?
Yeah, so obviously based on the sentencing guidelines and the indeterminate sentencing and all of that, we do provide institutional progress reports. And then the Board of Pardons takes under consideration several different types of time cuts, whether that's a discretionary time cut or mandatory time cuts for the programming that is ordered by the Board of Pardons and Parole based on the clinical or needs or risk assessment done by the department for that individual. So it does matter, and we believe that the documentation quality and a person's institutional behavior patterns or disciplinary patterns matter to the board's consideration as they're making determinations about when appropriate for release based on the sentencing guidelines and somebody's behavior pathways in the prison.
Rebecca, can you tell us if some of these same programs are available to the female population? I know that the prison is smaller, maybe doesn't have the same resources, or where they're housed, rather. Are there still things available to female inmates?
Yes, absolutely. We provide all of the same opportunities across the board. It may look smaller. Our population of females is much smaller. We have a capacity of around 6,600, and only about 500 or less of those individuals are female. So we do provide opportunities for vocation, training, education, employment training for our female individuals incarcerated as well.
So, Rebecca, I'm wondering if you could share with us any particular case or story that stands out to you about how your programs have made a difference.
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky enough to get to see the wins every day. And of course, we also have those opportunities for improvement. But I can think of a very distinct story recently of an individual that I had interaction with at one of our community providers in the community who had come through our system many times. In fact, serving over 19 years, what they would call hard years behind prison walls, and was able to transition through both one of our halfway houses and then a couple of community-based provider programs. He is now successfully integrated into the community. He is working, he is learning skills, he's leading a trade. And so we do see opportunities for success, and I believe that success through the installation of hope is so critical for these individuals. Sometimes it's the slightest opportunity to see that they can do something different. And then it takes the work to wrap around them and understand their functional needs to get them back out into the community.
And do you have part of your group available to help inmates so that they can find jobs when they get out? And have you been able to develop relationships with potential employers so that an inmate who does have these skills can maybe get a third step, a third chance, and a third ability to try to get in with an employer rather than just getting out and starting to look from scratch?
Yeah, actually this week we're hosting a pretty large community job fair in collaboration with the Other Side Village and Other Side Academy, and we'll be bringing together local employers and other community partners just this week to really highlight opportunities both in the community, and then we do a lot of reentry work to try to engage individuals, as I mentioned, in behind the walls so that they can come out to meaningful employment.
Thank you so much for joining us. That is just so amazing. I'm wondering, we only have a minute or two left, but do you have stats on the success of these second chance programs?
Well, what I will tell you is we are working really hard on enhancing our technology to be able to track very specifically the individuals and their progress through these programs. The list would be really comprehensive, but as far as the recidivism rates for the state of Utah, the 2022 numbers, which would be the most recent poll, because we poll every 3 years, put us at the lowest point we've been in the last 18 years. So a standard sort of national recognized rate is 20% recidivism, and currently, as of 2022, we're sitting at 14.83%. So we believe that the interventions and some of those interactions are working. What we're trying to look at now is the individuals that maybe it isn't working for, that are returning to prison on technical violations or because something in their supervision isn't working. So we're not just going to focus on recidivism. We're going to focus on desistance and other metrics that help us know somebody's successful before a 3-year poll.
And let me just ask you one final question, Rebecca, because we've only got about a minute left. But is this an option for inmates? For example, some inmates who choose not to participate, they certainly lose out big time. But this is something that's available but not required for inmates, correct?
Yeah, this is available across the board as part of the department philosophy and an overarching division within the department. We work very collaboratively with our prison operations teams and community supervision teams.
All right. Thank you so much. That was Rebecca Brown, Deputy Executive Director for the Utah Department of Corrections.
I just have to say, this is exciting news, and it dovetails with what we talked about last week with Ensign College. I mean, I deal with the prison population. I'm going to the jail today. Mm-hmm. I deal with people who are in and are coming out, and you just have to say, where are they going to go when they get out? And if it's the same place, they that magic word recidivism, I'm going to talk about that later on, but is such an important part of the prison process, because a lot of people just think we just warehouse people, which in some respects is true, but not so much in Utah.
And I went recently to the One Kind Act a Day annual symposium, and they actually had a panel from the prison, and they talked about this as a project, right?
Wow.
One of the additional skills to help reduce recidivism, and that is to take responsibility for being kind.
Right.
Okay, look, I have to say this. Music in the Spoken Word is expanding its broadcast to Africa. And I listened in yesterday. It was a special show, included African music. And we are going to have President Ronell Hugh join us. He is the president of the Genesis Group here in Utah. And he was there in the room where it happened. We'll be right back.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top local story this hour: the family of a woman killed in what could be a murder-suicide said she had filed divorce papers the day before. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis reports.
The family of Linda Paolo Zerpa Laura says she filed for divorce on Thursday, and it was the next day she was found dead in her home. Laura's family tells KSL she and her ex had lived separately, but she planned to meet with him Friday afternoon, and the family worried after not hearing from her for several hours. They say she was a mother, entrepreneur, and an active member of the Venezuelan community.
Harriman police say a woman was killed by blunt force trauma, and a man found inside had killed himself, but have not yet identified them because not all family has been notified. If you or someone you know has experienced domestic violence, help is available. The Utah Domestic Violence Coalition's confidential hotline is available 24/7 at 1-800-897-LINK. A Brigham City man has been arrested after police say he threatened to blow up the building he and his ex-girlfriend live in. Brigham City police say a woman called them just before 8 p.m. Friday night saying her ex had been drinking, tried to break into an apartment, and then said get the dogs out because he was going to blow up the house. Detective Crystal Beck says officers acted quickly on scene.
One of our patrol officers, quick thinking, he got on scene and was able to shut the gas off. The gas meter was outside in the front of the home, so he approached, shut the gas off.
Around 14 homes were evacuated, and the man eventually came out and was arrested. Things quieted down by 2:30 a.m. Beck says the woman is relatively unharmed but quite shaken. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow Jones is down 14 points. That's just a fraction of a percent. The S&P 500 is down 18 points. That's just over 0.25%. And the NASDAQ is down 101 points. That's just under 0.5%. Coming up, don't know why there ain't no sun up in the sky. Stormy weather this week. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-292-4541 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-292-4541. That's 800-292-4541. What do you have to lose? Call 800-292-4541. Again, 800-292-4541.
Every day here in Utah, people turn to KSL News Radio for one simple reason: trust. Trust for our reporters, hosts, our coverage, and trust in the businesses heard right here. I've met so many of our listeners over the years, and they'll tell you KSL is part of their daily routine, in the car, at work, at home. And when they hear your business here, it carries the weight of that trust. It isn't just another ad. It's a recommendation coming from a reliable source. When you advertise on KSL News Radio, you reach a loyal, highly engaged audience who listens intentionally. They show up for breaking news, accurate information, and meaningful conversations. And because of that connection, they respond. And when you pair our on-air credibility with digital tools like display advertising, social media, streaming audio, search, geo-targeting, and retargeting, you get a full funnel strategy that works and reaches the right people at the right time. Get marketing that truly moves the needle. Partner with the voice Utah trusts. KSL. Learn more at kslnewsradio.com/advertise.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Build smart, save big with construction loans at UCCU. Here's Michelle Rowe.
We have a crash southbound I-15 in Ogden. It's that you're approaching 21st Street on the left shoulder, not causing delays at the moment. We also have another crash that's just popped up. This is northbound 5600 West at 3100 South in West Valley. And finally, signal problems at Pioneer Crossing. This is at 2300 West, and they're asking you to use an alternate if possible. Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
We're going to sit in the 80s this week until Wednesday, when it dives down to 60 degrees with a chance of thunderstorms. For the rest of the week, it'll be cloudy and a little wet with highs in the low 60s and high 50s. Right now, though, it's about 70 degrees and partly cloudy downtown. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
It was a historic day yesterday as the Tabernacle Choir and Orchestra at Temple Square expanded the reach of their weekly broadcast, which is music and the spoken word, to millions across the African continent. And they did it by streaming live in prime time. So if you recall, Mike Lovett, who used to be the governor of the state of Utah,
yes,
and Secretary of Health and Human Services, I think.
Correct.
He is now the president of the choir, and he had a comment, of course, saying for nearly 100 years, this program has aired weekly from the Tabernacle to the world, and then yesterday's broadcast was seen live in prime time in 25 countries in Africa. So there was a special episode. It was titled "The Joy We Share," and one of the people who was there in the audience was President Rennell Hugh. He's president of the Genesis Group, and he is joining us on the line today. Thanks for joining us, President Hugh.
Thank you, Holly. How are you doing?
So good. Look, I am hoping that you can tell us what, first of all, if you can just explain to our audience, what is the Genesis Group, and then we'll go from there.
The Genesis Group is an organization, an official organization of a church that's been around since 1971, specifically focused on supporting Black Latter-day Saints. Obviously, you can imagine this is before 1978 when the priesthood was in temple blessings were given to all worthy males and females. And so this organization has existed for over 50 years, and it continues today. And we are here based in Utah, and our focus is how do we build and strengthen Black Latter-day Saints so they stay close to the gospel of Jesus Christ and grow their testimonies as well as helping church leaders, specifically the Utah area presidency, with other matters that relate to racism and prejudice and discrimination. So we do a lot, but we're excited for what we get to do, and it's been a great journey over the last couple of years for me.
President Hugh, can you tell our listeners the importance of what has now happened with the expansion of the Tabernacle Choir's reach into Africa and sort of getting this whole worldwide audience, and how that fits in with the message of the Genesis Group?
Yeah, definitely. It was such a powerful experience to be there yesterday and to witness what took place in this special episode, I guess, if you will, of the music and the spoken word. The opportunity, I think, for what was shared yesterday is just the growth of the church in Africa. We have so many sisters and brothers who are learning more about the gospel of Jesus Christ through the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, and it's just been powerful to see that growth. But also what it means and the importance of music. Like, music is such an important part of many cultures. It's an important part in what we probably saw or heard from yesterday is it's an important part of the African culture. And the timing for the Genesis Group is that's one of the things that we see as well with the Genesis Group. Everybody that comes, doesn't matter if they're from America or if they're from Africa, they come because of the love of the music and to socialize and to be together and to feel the spirit that comes from music. So rich music is such a deep part of Black history, whether that's here in this country or in Africa on that continent.
So, Rennell, I have children adopted from Africa, and we went back to Ethiopia in the fall for our son's wedding there. And you mentioned music as part of their culture. He had several other of our sons be his groomsmen, and he told them, "You will be dancing for 6 hours." They thought he was joking, and he was not joking.
Yeah. That's so powerful. That's awesome.
One of the things I think sometimes we lack is within the LDS cultures, we don't clap to music like sometimes members of Black congregations do. And I said yesterday to my husband, actually during church, gosh, I wish we could clap more because we really need to.
It's actually interesting that you say that, because one of the things that we get when we have people come to Genesis Group is that they feel the spirit of the music, and just enjoying it and standing and clapping and feeling that spirit is such an important part. And so we welcome it for people that come to our devotionals. We have a devotional the first Sunday of every month, and we have music, we have a speaker, and it's really just a powerful way to express your spirituality. And I think we see that. I mean, even some of the music that was shared yesterday from around from Africa, from the different choirs that were singing, and then there was a choir that sang, a Swahili choir that sang in the event, and it just was powerful. They added their own, expressions in there and chants and things of that nature that you could feel it. And I think that's the powerful thing about music. If you listen closely, if you allow your heart to be open up, the spirit will touch you. And that's just the powerful thing about any music. But I think with specifically what happened yesterday, it was just so great to see that and to see what can happen when we allow the music to be spread. And it's great to see what's going to happen now in Africa with this.
I was going to ask you about the Africa thing. So if they're streaming live, it's prime time there, right? Because of time difference. So
yeah.
I think I understand there's maybe more than 1 million members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Africa right now. What kind of impact do you anticipate this might have as it reaches more and more people on the African continent?
It's a great way to share the gospel. And I give you an example. I spent some time with an organization. I was at Desert Book for a period of time, leading their marketing. And I was able to bring in a young lady from Brazil who we signed onto our record label there. And the reason we did that was because in Brazil, music is such a prime way to connect with people, right? And the number one medium is music. The number two genre in Brazil was Christian music. And if you think about Africa, music is such a powerful part. And so what a great way to connect with people, to help them to feel and to learn of the gospel through music and making this accessible to them, especially during prime time. I want to do more research now and look at how does that help, and what does it mean to be prime time in Africa? And is it a thing on Sunday where people spend time together? And what I've learned so far is, in talking to a few folks, it is like that. Music is such an essential part of what they get to do, and it adds to who their worship. And so it'll be fascinating to see now how this continues to expand across Africa, how it's received, and what it will do for those who listen. And by the way, this is not just for members of the church. This is for anybody that wants to tune in. They can tune in and listen and be uplifted by this music.
Now, what do you think it is about the gospel and the teachings of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that's got so much interest in Africa right now?
That's a great question. As I think about it, so just a little background. I joined the church in England. I was about 14 when that took place. My wife, she served the mission in Italy, and she taught a lot of people from Africa. And one of the things that we talk about often is just the reception that they have to the Spirit and to Jesus Christ. A lot of Africans, they've known about Jesus Christ. They've been taught about it. You think about the history of those who have actually gone into Africa and have been sharing the message of Christ and Christianity with them. It's something that's common. And so I think, as it becomes more accessible, and again, music being an easy entry point to it, it opens people's hearts and minds to see and understand something that they already know, but expands it. And that's, if I think about myself, that's what happened to me when I was in England. I had gone to multiple churches, grew up in Germany, lived there for 8 years, speak German myself, and went to church there, moved to the States for a period, and experienced the church church in the United States. My dad was Southern Baptist and did that, and then spent some time with Jehovah's Witness, and then ended up in England. And we had an experience where that opens up to kind of finding another religion, and we stumbled across the missionaries. And I think that, we were ready, but it was just because we had already had Christ in our lives. And so when you hear new messages about Christ, or it adds to what you already have, and I see that happening in Africa right now. They're just receptive to that because they've been prepared.
All right. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate your insight and experience. That was President Rennell Hugh, who is president of the Genesis Group. And look, when we come back, Greg, did you know that stepping outside can be good medicine? Well, we'll talk about a University of Utah study that says just 10 minutes can be the best medicine. We'll talk about that later.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security, Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370. 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 18 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 30, 60, or 90 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com/contests.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com. Or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. The Catalyst Business Development Consulting is a leading business consulting firm dedicated to empowering organizations with strategic insights and solutions. With a range of comprehensive services, they meet businesses' specific needs. Founder and consultant Mazar Kathi joins us with more.
Building a business requires grit, vision, and relentless hard work. That's exactly why I founded the Catalyst Business Development Consulting, to help business owners stop guessing and start growing. Based right here in the Valley, my team and I are passionate about supporting local businesses by tackling their unique challenges head on. We don't believe in one-size-fits-all solutions. When you partner with The Catalyst, we take the time to understand your business inside and out, ensuring every strategy is tailored to your goals. Whether the focus is optimizing daily operations, boosting the bottom line, or scaling to the next level, we create a clear, actionable roadmap to help you succeed. Your business has untapped potential, and we are here to help ignite it. Reach out to The Catalyst Business Development Consulting today. Let's talk about your vision and turn your goals into reality. Learn more at thecatalystbdc.com.
By offering tailored strategies and hands-on support, the Catalyst Business Development Consulting helps Utah businesses grow, thrive, and create more jobs, driving innovation, strengthening the local economy, and supporting long-term success across the state. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Right now, water heaters are on sale at Any Hour Services. Schedule a free estimate today to see how much you'll save. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
So I have a little story for you. Yesterday we had another family dinner for birthdays. April is a heavy month for birthdays in our family. And I had a little 5-year-old granddaughter come down, and we went on a walk with the dogs, and she chatted the whole time. But she was talking to me about nature. And she was like, and her mom is one of our kids that has a prosthetic leg and doesn't move quite as easily as a 5-year-old. So she's telling me as she's picking up these rocks and looking at these flowers, and this is nature, and I am taking it to my mom so she can have memories of nature. Well, you know what? There is something healing about being outside and being in nature. And what I thought was so interesting is that you don't need as more than even 10 minutes.
That's right. Research shows that as much as 10 minutes outside actually makes you feel better. And here's KSL News Radio's Regan Edelman with more.
A study out of the University of Utah says that just 10 minutes outside can improve symptoms of anxiety, depression, stress, and more. Dr. Joanna Schaefer and her research team have spent the past 4 years reviewing thousands of research papers looking to pinpoint specific benefits and factors. What they found was just those 10 minutes made all the difference. Schaefer says it doesn't matter where you are, whether it be your backyard, a park in a city, or on a hike in the woods, as long as you're outside. She calls it a prescription you can fill anywhere, and she hopes that the research will encourage people to take a deep breath and step outside. Reagan Edelman, KSL News Radio.
So that kind of goes along with what we've talked about with nature bathing, right? Just being out in the woods and the trees. And I'm really intrigued that like you don't have to be up in the mountains. It can be in your own backyard.
Yeah. And of course, it makes a huge difference. In the winter, I try to work out a lot. I try to ride my bicycle all year. But in the winter, I have to ride it in my basement.
Oh.
There's nothing compared to riding outside, even with the traffic and even with the bugs and even with the sometimes hot and cold air. I mean, there's just nothing quite like just breathing the air outside. It just makes you feel so much better. And I ride faster. I ride longer. I enjoy it so much more.
Well, speaking of bugs, right, that's an issue that we struggle with our 11-year-old because she doesn't like bugs. And she was stung like one time by a wasp, and now she's like terrified. If anything like wiggles close to her, she runs screaming away, saying no. Right.
Well,
so I'm going to get her outside even more.
Painful experiences you can have.
I know.
Those things are awful.
I know. All right. Well, I do have some fun facts of the day. Okay. So today is actually National Pineapple Upside Down Cake Day. It's also my son's birthday today. So happy birthday to Carrie. But I love pineapple upside down cake, and I've got a couple of kids that they don't eat cooked fruit, but I like it, and I think I might make it for dinner. So there you go.
I don't remember the last time I had it, but I don't recall disliking it. It's a concept I haven't even thought of for a long time.
Okay. So on this day, which is what's today, April 20th, in 1862, the first pasteurization test was completed by Frenchman Louis Pasteur, of course.
Oh,
that's how you get pasteurization, right? And it really was game-changing at the time. And now, in some ways, we try to move away from pasteurizing milk, right? And the raw milk movement has grown, but it was 1862, so it's been around for a long time.
Do you know what the process is? The
heat.
Yeah,
it's heat. Yeah. It's a heating process.
And you get the bugs out of it.
Yeah. Not literal, although you strain it for the literal bugs.
Right.
It was on this day in 1902 that Marie and Pierre Curie isolated radium. So Marie Curie actually won 2 different Nobel Prizes. She died, of course, of radiation poisoning, but they were able to isolate that. And then in 1918, Manfred von Richthofen, who was the Red Baron, shot down his 79th and 80th victims.
Snoopy.
Well, Snoopy was he attacking the Red Baron, I think. So the Red Baron was flying for Germany,
right?
But this was the last day that he was able to shoot anybody down because the next day he was shot down himself and died. Yep. Okay, so on this day, and I've got a personal story with this, which is weird. But on this day in 1971, the U.S. Supreme Court declared that desegregation busing was constitutional, meaning you could, because of the way people were allowed to buy homes and not homes, you would have neighborhoods that were exclusively white or exclusively black. Well, I was living in Virginia when this ruling came down, and I had busing happened at my school as a second grader. I remember that very clearly. In between my second and third grade year, we had kids who were bused in from a different area of town and desegregated our school.
We had no such thing here that I can ever recall in Utah. I mean, if we did, I was
good for Utah.
Yeah.
Good for Utah.
Virginia was a big hotbed for...
It was a hotbed. And, I'm 6 or 7 years old. Like, I don't know. It's like, I remember one time my mom saying, you're going to have kids who were black who will be at your school. I'm like, okay. And we did, and it was okay. Right? It wasn't a big deal. So it was also on this day, this is a very sad anniversary, but it was in 1999 that teen gunmen killed 13 people at Columbine High School in Colorado. So
what year?
1999.
Yeah,
so 27 years ago.
You kind of think of that as the kickoff for all those horrible events that have happened since then.
School shootings.
And all the mass shootings and school shootings. And
it was so shocking at the time, right? And now it's almost not shocking anymore.
Right. Now it's something that happens, I don't know, a couple times a year, it seems like, in America.
Yeah. Okay, so I only have one more, and this is in 2010. There was an explosion and a fire aboard the Deepwater Horizon oil drilling rig. It killed 11 people and triggered the largest, at least to that point, largest offshore oil spill in U.S. history.
Wow. Well, you left me a little time because I want to talk about something that we've talked about today, we talked about last week, and it's sort of near and dear to me. And I'll tell you why. In 1995, I went to Las Vegas with a group of lawyers from Utah and studied what we called the drug court, brought the drug court concept back to Utah. And what we learned was that it changed the way people responded to the system and got back into the system. And the magic word I'm thinking about is recidivism. Because anytime you have a program or a policy or something in place that helps our inmates, it helps our accused, helps the people that are struggling so that they don't go back in the system, it's something that should be applauded. And our results in drug court were huge, and I think they still are. We even, my wife and I run an aftercare nonprofit that we run it's called Friends of Drug Court, to help people once they get out of that system to stay out and to not go back into the drug court community. Last week, we interviewed the president and one of the directors of Ensign College about the program that they've set up there, where they have degrees for students, for people who are incarcerated. They can come out now of prison with an associate's degree or a certificate. And I think in the future, we're going to see people coming out of prison with bachelor's degrees. That's going to make a huge difference. But what was really exciting was what we learned today, the Second Chance program, something that's happened at the Utah State Penitentiary, where we are providing inmates with an opportunity to get a career if they want, to study things, even just the trades. I mean, how many times have we had people contact us, even in the drug court, with saying, hey, boy, we sure need some truck drivers, we sure need some welders, we sure need some machinists, we sure need some people that have some skills, because we're not getting those. And so you have a captive audience at the prison. You can actually get these people and say, hey, if you'd like, we can teach you a skill, because the day will come when you'll get out of here. Do you want to support your family? Do you want to support those kids that you have, your wife or your husband? You want to be the father or son that you've always wanted to be, or do you want to come back in the prison 2 years later? That's recidivism. And so I was really pleased to see when she said that the nationally the average of recidivism is something in the 20% range, and Utah's 14%. That's a great number. I mean, obviously we want that number to be less and less and less, but the more we're doing, the more we are changing our model in the prison system from purely punitive, and it has to be punitive. We have to have a punitive concept, part of the sentencing process, because that's what victims need, that's what society needs, and it's what the perpetrators need so they know not to come back. I completely appreciate that, but we have to have a bit of rehabilitation in the prison system as well, and an ability for inmates and people to say, okay, I know I'm going to do 5 years, I know I'm going to do 10 years. I also know that I want to be better when I get out.
And I think for me, one of the things that is a key component of this, and you brought it up with our previous guest, you have to have businesses willing to hire people who have gone through not only the training and rehabilitation, but you have to have people who are willing to hire ex-convicts.
And you're always surprised and pleased, Holly, that people will do that. Yeah. I mean, I have people that tell me some of the best employees I have are ex-cons, and they'll point at a job site and see that guy's he's on parole for a drug dealer. That guy's on parole for stealing a car, and because they do want to change. I think that unfortunately too many people age out. They just say, I'm too old to commit crime anymore, but then they still don't have anything to do. But if you're young and you're strong and you're intelligent and you want to do something, by all means take advantage of what's going on out there. Well, that's it for me today, and Holly. That was a fun Monday. Next up is Midday with Maria Chaleos, and she has the latest on a search for a suspect on this morning's fatal hotel shooting here in Salt Lake City, something we hadn't heard a lot about. I'll be interested to see what Maria learns when we come back.